A service of KIBMradio.com, the Internet's home for an all old-time radio.
This I believe. The allegation has been made that bankers, with their heads full of increments and interest rates, are cold and inhuman. We find a warm contradiction to that charge in the person of Howard C. Peterson, former Assistant Secretary of War, who at 41 is president of one of the nation's leading banks, the Fidelity Philadelphia Trust Company. Now, Mr. Peterson's beliefs.
From the welter of confusion of modern life with its tempo that destroys contemplation, I find it difficult indeed to distill from my thoughts concisely what I believe. Perhaps it is one of the great weaknesses of our times that we think too little about the principles which underlie our daily conduct, and we seldom speak of them. Last Christmas time, I read James Thurber's new book, The 13 Clocks, to my 2 children. As in all fairy tales, the forces of good and evil were strongly at contest. There was the wicked Duke, who had the unpleasant habit of slitting people with his sword cane from their guggle to their zatch. But he was no match in the end for the good and handsome prince. My boy and girl never doubted for a moment that the prince would win out and free the captive princess. And as I read them this excellent tale, I thought of how like and yet unlike the world of witches and fairies is from the world of reality, how our adult world differs from that of a child. The fresh ideals of youngsters, their vigor in tackling almost anything, their unbounded faith in the triumph of good. These are forces we must make work in our everyday world, where the wicked Duke is not always so miraculously done in. In our daily lives, in getting along with our neighbors, or in the greater problem of nations living together, I think we must believe in the existence of certain constant universal truths, and believe these principles are worth striving for. Man has faculties vastly superior to other living creatures. He is distinguished as well by hopes and aspirations, by his groping toward a fuller, better life. I hold that no one should be on the sidelines in the effort to obtain that goal. I believe that man cannot begin to achieve the accomplishments of which he is capable unless he progresses in the solution of an intimate, basic problem, the problem of living in harmony with other individuals. And this must be without undue restraint on individual liberties and with an awareness of the enormously difficult problem of relations among groups of individuals. I think everyone must contribute to such progress, because by its nature, the problem is an aggregate of small relations of everyday living in our homes, schools, and communities. The essential dignity of man, his importance in his society, his inherent rights, so wonderfully expressed in our Declaration of Independence. These concepts must be strengthened and made real in step with our achievements in human relations, government relations, and international relations. I emphasize our social problems because our progress there has been so puny when compared with our progress through history in physical and cultural fields. By this emphasis, I do not intend to depreciate man's spiritual side. Unless this strength, which comes from the Spirit, pervades all human activity, I believe there can be no meaningful progress towards the fulfillment of our destiny, toward the justification of our very existence.
That was Howard C. Peterson, Philadelphia banker, who, despite the hectic pace of business today, finds time to reflect on the vital subject of human values.
The Anchor Hocking Glass Corporation brings you Crime Photographer.
Say, Casey, I'll bet you photographed a lot of famous people.
Well, I'm not so sure, Ethelbert.
How come?
Well, it's like this. Many a guy who looks like a ball of fire today is nothing but a wet match tomorrow.
Oh, I get it. You gotta wait before you're sure a guy is really famous.
Right. Sometimes it takes years and years to ensure fame.
Sure, like the years and years of leadership that have made Anchor Hocking the most famous name in glass. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Tony Marvin. Every week at this time, the Anchor Hocking Glass Corporation of Lancaster, Ohio, and its more than 10,000 employees bring you another adventure of Casey, crime photographer, ace cameraman who covers the crime news of a great city. Written by Alonzo Dean Cole, our adventure for tonight, The New Will. One of the showplaces of our city is the mansion of multimillionaire Bradford Randall. In the richly furnished library of this mansion at 8 o'clock in the evening, Randall, his daughter Agatha, and a dapper, handsome man face each other in...
This is one time, Father, that you're not going to have your own way. I've made up my mind to marry Giuseppe, and that is that.
Oh, no, Agatha. You only think you're going to make this gigolo my son-in-law.
Do not call me a gigolo, Mr. Randall.
Oh, then what are you?
I'm a man of honor who comes to you like a gentleman and asks for your daughter to be my wife. And for that, I'm insulted.
How much money have you got, Mr. Runover?
I'm Count Runover.
All right, count. But answer my question.
Money is not everything.
Well, you're not finding a soft spot with me.
Father, I won't let you.
Shut up, Agatha. Now then, you get out of here, Runover, and stay out.
If he goes, I go with him.
If you do anything foolish, Agatha, you'll regret it. And so will your boyfriend. And to convince you both that I mean business, I'm going to make out a new will tomorrow that will cut off Agatha with the minimum bequest allowed by law.
Father.
You know I don't bluff, Agatha. Tomorrow morning, I'll have Devons draw up a new will. And it'll stand until you come to your senses.
Come on, Giuseppe. Let's get out of here.
Yes, Agatha.
You'll be back, my dear. And still single.
You? Oh, I absolutely hate you.
I'll show you I don't bluff. Hello, this is Bradford Randall. Call Mr. Devons to the phone, will you? Hello, Devons. I've got a job for you to do first thing in the morning. No, wait a minute. You better do it tonight. I want a new will drawn up, and I want you to bring it here to me within the next couple of hours. Don't argue. Do as I tell you. Well, that's better. Now get yourself a pencil, Devons, and take notes of what I say. Looks as though you've done a pretty good job with this new will on short notice, Devons. So, I'm leaving practically my entire estate to, the Society for the Relief and Rehabilitation of War Victims and Displaced Persons.
You told me to name some charity. Any charity as your beneficiary?
Oh, it'll do. Of course, when that nitwit daughter of mine agrees to forget about her count, we'll destroy this and make her an heiress again. Yes, I was going to have you draw this new will up tomorrow, but Agatha and her lounge lizard might be getting married while you're doing it. But they won't after I spring this on her at breakfast. Oh, we'll need witnesses to make this good, I suppose.
Naturally.
Well, I'll get my butler and... Fieldston!
Yes, Mr. Randall.
Fieldston, get one of the other servants and come in here, will you?
There's only the upstairs maid on duty now, sir. It's after 11 o'clock.
She'll do. Get her and hurry up, will
Very
you?
well, sir.
After 11. By the time I get
Now,
home...
quit your crabbing, Devons.
Well, why shouldn't I
You
crab?
better not. I made you, and I can break you.
Oh, I didn't mean it.
Here is Sophie, the maid.
Oh, come in, Sophie, come in. I want you and Fieldston to sign a paper.
What kind of paper, sir?
What does that matter? Here's a pen. Here.
Excuse me, sir, but I have been told never to sign my name to anything I have not read over, sir.
When you work for me, you do as I tell you.
Wait a minute, Mr. Randall.
Huh?
From a legal standpoint, this girl and your butler must know what they're signing. Sophie, Fieldstone. This document is a new will in which Mr. Randall bequeaths the bulk of his estate to the Society for the Relief and Rehabilitation of War Victims and Displaced Persons.
Well, if that is the case,
You needn't have explained all that in order to make the thing legal, Devons. I'll tear this will up as soon as that girl of mine gets some sense. Well, here's my John Hancock.
Now, you sign here, young woman, as a witness.
Yes, sir.
You, Fieldstone? Here.
Very good, sir.
All right. That's all. You can go now.
Thank you, Mr. Rand.
Fieldstone.
Yes, sir.
Have me called at 7 in the morning.
Yes, Mr.
And get my daughter up at the same time. I want her to have breakfast with me.
Bring up some more lemons, Walter.
Okay, Ethelbert.
I should get more sleep.
Hello, Ethelbert.
Huh?
Casey,
Well, I think so. I'm never sure at this hour of the morning.
what are you doing around here? It's only a little after 8.
I'm working the early shift this week, 8 in the morning till 4 p.m. Have Walter Russell me have some coffee, will you, pal?
Hey, Walter, breakfast for Casey. Bring it here to the bar.
Okay.
I suppose you reported for work, then made a quick sneak before your city desk got wise.
The guy's got to eat, doesn't he?
Well, look at me. I already had 6 wheat cakes, half a grapefruit, a plate of ham and eggs, 2 cups of coffee. I feel fine.
Yeah, you're lucky. Well, don't mention food again till I get some.
Casey.
Hello, Annie. Good morning.
Come on, get on your bicycle. We're going places.
What? Not till I exercise my...
Oh, yes, we're going to Bradford Randall's house right now.
Bradford Randall?
The Bradford Randall. One of his servants went to call him about an hour ago. It was about 7 o'clock, and found him dead with a bullet through his heart. Captain Logan and his homicide squad are at the house now.
Holy jump.
Bradford Randall's one of the biggest guys in this town.
And one of the crookedest, too.
But his murder is front page and double column, Casey. Come on.
Okay, cancel my breakfast, Ethelbert.
It'll be on the fire by now,
Well, then
Casey.
eat it yourself.
But I had... Well, after all, I ate just a little snack almost an hour ago.
Our story will continue in just a moment. How many times have you said to yourself, I'd give anything in the world for a cup of coffee right now? Now, what you meant was that you wanted a cup of good, hot, steaming coffee without having to fuss around in the kitchen and without waiting even a minute. Well, here's the answer. Just a cup, a spoon, and a glass jar. A glass jar of soluble coffee. Put a spoonful of this new kind of coffee in a cup, add hot water, and there you are. It's as quick as that. It's as convenient as that, if you make sure to buy your soluble coffee in a glass jar. You see, glass jars are easy to open. Just a twist of your wrist, that's all. Then there's the matter of flavor and freshness. Anchor glass jars protect soluble coffee from moisture or any other contamination. Enjoy all of the convenience of soluble coffee products by insisting on glass jars. Most of the better packers of soluble coffee protect their products by using clean, sanitary Anchor glass containers and Anchor caps, both products of Anchor Hocking. The most famous name in glass.
What happened, Captain Logan?
One of the servants discovered Randall dead in his bed when she went to call him, Miss Williams. He'd been shot through the heart around 3 a.m., the M.E. says, with his own gun, a .45 automatic. We found the gap, but it had been wiped clean of the fingerprints.
Well, that rules out suicide. Any suspects, Captain?
Too many, Miss Williams. Off the record, suspect number 1 is a party boy who calls himself Count Giuseppe Renova. He'd been out with Randall's daughter and brought her home about an hour before the murder was committed.
Well, what's his possible motive?
You don't read the gossip columns, Casey. Miss Ronova's been giving Miss Randall a heavy rush.
Yeah, she was all set to marry the guy. Some of the servants heard a noisy quarrel between Randall, his daughter, and Renova early last evening, during which Randall said he'd disinherit her if she didn't give Renova the heir. He threatened to change his will first thing this morning. But after daughter and boyfriend left, both pretty sore, Randall got his lawyer and executed a new will last night. It cuts Agatha Randall out of the estate and how.
Yeah, but at 3 a.m., when he was murdered, Ranova thought she was still a big heiress.
That's the picture. And she's suspect number 2. Either one. They killed Randall to prevent him making a new will, which they didn't know had already been made.
I've met Agatha Randall, and I can believe she'd kill her own father if he got in her way.
She must be a sweet character, just like her old man. But what are your other suspects, Logan?
Anyone who was in this house. For instance, there are 16 servants, and the only one who seems sorry that Randall's dead's the butler, Fieldston. I'm not convinced he's very sincere.
Popular guy, this Randall. Ranova, after he left Miss Randall at the door downstairs, could have gotten into this bedroom by climbing that trellis, Logan. You know?
Sure. And so could anyone else. Howard Devons, for example.
Randall's lawyer?
He had no love for his boss.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Now, I'm expecting Devons here any minute. I'm letting him have the will we found. He'll need it to settle the estate.
Where'd you find the will?
Lying folded on top of that dresser. Well, let's get out of this room and go downstairs.
Oh, I beg your pardon, sir.
What are you doing outside this door, Fieldston?
I was just about to knock, Captain. Mr. Devons has arrived, and I came to tell you, sir.
Where is he?
Downstairs in the library with Miss Randall. And Count Ranova is there also, sir.
Now, get that maid who was your co-witness to the will last night, Fieldston, then both of you come to the library.
I'll get Sophie at once, sir.
Come on, Miss Williams. Casey.
You know, Logan, it looked as though that butler was listening at the door.
It looked very much that way.
Why do you want him and that maid in the library, Captain?
Verify their signatures on the will before I hand it over to Devons.
Oh, I see.
Now, there's the library.
Now, I won't believe that will can stand up in court, Mr. Devons. My father never meant to cut me off.
I drew that will, Miss Randall, and it'll stand up.
But...
Oh, Captain Logan.
You're Mr. Devons?
Yes.
Mind if I shoot some pictures here, Logan?
Go ahead, Casey.
I mind. I've had enough of you policemen and newspaper people around here. This is my house, and I want...
Remember the will, Miss Randall. This is not your house.
Oh, Giuseppe, what am I going to do?
Do not worry, my Agatha. I will find lawyers who will break for us that crazy will.
Well, of
Count
course,
is an optimist, Annie.
It's ridiculous.
And how he declares himself in. Isn't this a gorgeous room?
It's about the last word, I say. No windows in it. I guess that's for all-year-round air conditioning.
Mm-hmm. And invisible lighting.
I'll lay down this film case, get a few shots.
Oh, excuse me, Captain. Here is the maid, sir.
Oh, yes. You're the girl who witnessed Mr. Randall's will last night with Fieldston?
Yes, sir.
Well, look, I can't make out the signature. What's your name?
Zofia Jadwiga Elżbieta Kupowajczyk.
No. I think Captain Logan will call you Sophie.
Yeah. Well, look at this document, Sophie. Is it the one you witnessed?
I have been told never to say a thing I'm not sure of, sir. Can I look at the paper close and careful?
Yes, I want you to. Here, take it.
Thank you, sir. What is that?
I shot a picture of you, Sophie. Sorry if the flashbulb startled you.
It did, sir. Excuse me for being so foolish.
Look, do you identify that will?
It looked like the paper I saw.
Look at the signature, Sophie, and the rest of it. Is it your signature?
Oh, yes, it is me. I write that last night. It is the will.
Well, I'm glad we got that settled. Hey!
What happened to the lights?
Where's the switch? Turn on those lights.
I'll find the switch, sir. There.
Oh, what?
Sophie.
What happened to you?
Somebody hit me when the lights go out and pulled that paper from my hand.
The will. The will is gone.
All right, every one of you's been searched, and we didn't find the will. But someone in this room switched off the lights, struck Sophie, and took the will from her hand, and whoever did it isn't going to get away with it. Now, the thing's somewhere in this library, and my men will find it if they have to tear the walls down. Sergeant. Yes, sir. You and the boys go to work.
Okay, Captain.
Everybody else, get out of here.
You can seriously believe that I had anything to do with this strange theft?
You were in this room, and the will disappeared, Devons.
But, of course, you consider poor Miss Randall your principal suspect, Captain.
What makes you think my principal suspect isn't you, Mr. Ranova?
Count Ranova.
Now, all of you get out of here. Now, don't try to leave this house.
Come, Giuseppe. It would be a pleasure to get away from these people.
A great pleasure, my Agatha.
Hey, you and Miss Williams get out, too, Casey.
Okay. Let me get my film case, pal.
I'll bring your photographic case, Mr. Casey.
Oh, thanks, Fieldston. Well, just put it down in the hall here.
Very good, sir.
I'm closing this library door, Sergeant. And don't let anybody in, and don't you or the boys come out until you find that will.
Okay, Captain. Will you need me any more, sir?
No, go on about your business, Fieldston. I'll find you if I want you.
Very good, sir.
Casey, come into this room. And you, Miss Williams. I want to have some gab without any interruptions. Look, what do you think?
That job was timed beautifully, Logan. Right after I'd used up a flash bulb. If I'd had another one set in my camera, I could have touched it off and caught the thief dead to rights.
Well, didn't either of you notice who stood nearest that light switch just before the room went dark?
I didn't.
Neither did I. But I'm sure 3 people weren't anywhere near the light switch. It's yourself, Logan, the lawyer, Devins, and that little maid, Sophie.
Now, that leaves Agatha, Renova, the butler, Fieldston, you, Casey, and Miss Williams.
See, I just thought of something, Logan. Yeah? That butler, Fieldston, closed the door when he came into the library. If that door had been open, the room wouldn't have gone entirely dark.
Hey. And Fieldston was trying to get an earful outside that room upstairs.
What was that?
It's a man.
Upstairs. Come on.
I see him. Hey, it's the butler.
He's lying on the floor.
His head is covered with blood.
Someone socked him.
Turn him over, Logan. Open his coat.
Yeah. And his heart's beating. He's only knocked out.
Hey, that paper sticking out of the inside pocket of his coat.
Casey, it's the stolen will.
Oh, my head.
Now, look, the doc says you haven't been badly hurt, Fieldston. You were just put to sleep pretty rough. Now, tell us about it.
Yeah, we're very curious.
Well, all I know, gentlemen, is that I was passing along the upstairs hall, and when I passed the door of Miss Randall's room, I thought I heard it open, then something hit me.
Did you see the person who hit you?
No, Captain.
This is what you were hit with.
That silver candlestick.
Yeah. You recognize it?
It usually stands on Miss Randall's dressing table.
You heard Miss Randall's door open just before you were caught.
I thought I did, yes. Captain, do you think Miss Randall...
I'm asking the questions, Fieldston. And here's the one that pays the grand prize. Why was that will in your pocket?
Will?
Randall's new will.
No, I don't know.
Now, don't try to play innocent. You hit Sophie in that library and snatched the will.
I did nothing of the kind. You searched
We know why the will wasn't on you when you were searched, fella, and how you got it out of the library.
Mr. Casey, I swear...
Save it. The way I helped your scheme, Fieldston, was with my film case. You stuck the will in that film case after you snatched it and before you turned on the lights. Then you carried the case out in the hall where I was dumb enough to leave it. Then you opened the case and put the will in your pocket.
That isn't true. What possible motive could
You knew that Agatha Randall, or Ranova, would pay anything you asked for that will. They wanted to destroy it.
And evidently they double-crossed you. Now, are you going to protect the person who tried to kill you, or are you going to talk?
I'm going to talk.
You're a sensible guy.
My head is beginning to clear, Captain. Now I realize that I've been double-crossed. Count Renova told me that he and Miss Randall would pay me $500,000 if I could get that new will. Well, I got it. But they double-crossed me. One of them tried to kill me. You bring them here, and I'll tell them that to their faces.
Get them, Sergeant.
Yes, sir.
Well, Casey, I guess that takes care of that.
It takes care of that, Logan, but you still got the murder of Randall to solve.
Captain Logan put Miss Randall and that Count Runover under arrest, huh, Casey?
Yeah, he's holding him for questioning, Ethelbert, which means they're in jail without formal charges being lodged against him.
They've admitted nothing and denied everything, Ethelbert. And as sore as the butler is against them, he admits he didn't see either of them hit him.
I have a hunch that neither Agatha nor her phony Count bumped off Randall.
Hunches aren't accepted as evidence either, Mr. Casey.
Well, who else could be the culprit, Casey?
Culprit?
Yeah.
Oh, look, pal, you've been reading that bad literature again. Culprit. Where do you get words like that? Out of True Detective comics?
No, William D. Shakespeare mentions culprits, and Allen Edward Poe and Charles Makepeace Dickens.
Yeah, you win, pal.
Well, then tell me, who else besides Runover and Miss Randall...
Look, I'm going to ask you a question, my literary friend. Pal, if you were a lawyer, would you kill a client right after he'd signed a will leaving his money to charity, a legitimate charity that you selected, and then bust a second guy over the head in order to prevent that will from being destroyed by the daughter?
This is a hypothetical question, huh, Casey?
Yeah, highly hypothetical, that hurt.
Extra highly hypothetical.
Oh, lay off. Come on, what's your answer, pal?
Am I a lawyer making good dough?
Plenty.
I got a wife and kids?
Now, wife, no kids.
How do I get along with the old lady?
Okay. At least there's no scandal about you.
She See, I got to ask these questions, Casey, because I'm awful ignorant about the lawyer I am, see?
Mm-hmm. I see. Well, now that you're enlightened, how about it?
But tell me one thing more. Have I got good sense?
Well, I think the lawyer has.
Say, was that a crack?
I don't know what you mean, pal.
Oh. Well, after mature deliberation, Casey, I've come to the conclusion that if I got dough, a happy family life, and ain't no crackpot, I would be a first-degree chump to take a chance of broiling myself in a hot seat by doing a job of murder.
Yeah, it's the same conclusion I reached, Ethelbert.
Now that you have Devons out of the way, where you go from here?
I don't know, Annie, but I still have my hunch.
Well, try eliminating all the Randall servants now. None of them like their boss or his daughter. Start with that little housemaid, Sophie. You can get rid of her quickly.
I'm not giving that poor washed-out gal a second thought.
That the dame who Fieldstone gave the black eye when he snatched the will?
Mm-hmm. The Polish girl. Awfully sweet. I spent quite a little time talking to her, Casey.
Yeah?
She's been in this country only a few years. She's a war refugee.
So?
Poor thing. You know what the war did to Poland. The Germans invaded and the Russians invaded. And, well, she and her family had a terrible time.
How could she stand working for a guy like Randolph? Amongst all the other crooked things he did, he was a notorious war profiteer.
She witnessed that new will. She was told its provisions. Annie, come on. We're going to call on Sophie.
Yes, Mr. Casey. I killed Mr. Randall. And I hit that butler Fieldstone, too.
I was pretty sure you did, Sophie. After I started thinking, I wouldn't have accused you otherwise.
If you had not accused, I would have told the police anyway soon. Because now I'm sure they will not again lose that bad man's new will.
It leaves his money to the society, doesn't it, for the relief of war victims?
Yes.
The will won't be lost again. And it won't be broken, Sophie.
I believe you, Miss Williams.
Tell us what you meant to tell the police.
In our town, in Poland, war was very bad. I see my mother killed, and my father. My little sister Paula and I, we sleep in streets and get food where we can get it from. You would not like to hear about that. It is not nice to think of it. Before, I have seen my two brothers taken away by soldiers. They never come back. Finally, my little sister, Paula, she lied down to sleep and do not wake. She was too hungry. Things happened to me, too, in the war. But I'm strong and I live. I have uncle in America who get me over here, where I get job in Mr. Randall's house. Sometime I can hear Mr. Randall say how the war has made him more rich than he was before. And last night he asked me to witness that will.
Which left his money to war victims.
Yes. And he say something which made me know he would change the will if he had the chance and leave everything to his daughter again. A woman as bad as he is.
You didn't give him the chance.
No. I went to his room while he was sleeping, and I used the gun I know he'd keep there.
How about Fieldstone?
I saw him take the will he had stolen from your box, Mr. Casey. I suspect he will sell it to Miss Randall, who will destroy it. I slip into her room and get candlestick. I think that is all. Now, Miss Williams, Mr. Casey, take me to police. Casey?
Yes.
I'm not afraid, and I have no regret. You see, we who have felt war have died many times. Another time does not matter.
We'll join the crowd at the Blue Note in just a moment. Just in time for Christmas shopping, Anchor Hocking presents the perfect answer to your problem of giving something beautiful and practical. A set of jadeite dinnerware. Jadeite, spelled Jadeite. Jadeite. It has the lovely texture of Chinese porcelain, the color of green jade. It's as sturdy and heat-proof as the Fire King oven glass you bake with. Almost anyone will be delighted to receive a beautiful 35-piece jadeite dinner service consisting of 6 cups, 6 saucers, 6 dessert plates, 6 salad plates, 6 dinner plates, 1 vegetable bowl, a platter, and a sugar and creamer set. All of this for less than $5. Jadeite, a product of Anchor Glass, can also be purchased in open stock. Now, you'll find Jadeite dinnerware at chain stores, department stores, and most other stores selling chinaware and glass. Ask for Jadeite by name. The newest triumph of Anchor Hocking. The most famous name in glass.
We who have felt war have died many times. Another time doesn't matter.
What's that, Casey?
Huh?
What'd you say?
Nothing.
He's been muttering to himself like that ever since Sophie repeated her confession to the cops, Ethelbert.
I guess I have, Eddie.
What'll be done about that girl, Sophie?
Should be sent to a hospital for the criminal insane.
The docs say she's crazy, huh?
In the legal definition. She's incapable of distinguishing between right and wrong.
She never had much chance to get acquainted with what's right in the legal definition, did she?
No, Ethelbert. She didn't even realize that there's never a justification for murder.
That's a fact, Annie. Yeah, and many people in Europe and Asia are just like her. People who as children saw nothing but war, and whose only teaching was that might makes right, and that the end justifies the means. Boy, we're just lucky that philosophy hasn't become basic training for a lot of American kids. So far. The anniversary of Pearl Harbor was last Sunday, and in 2 weeks we celebrate Christmas. I think a lot of people over here have forgotten the meaning of both those days.
It's time all of us started thinking and doing.
Crime Photographer, starring Stotts Codsworth as Casey, is brought to you each Thursday by the Anchor Hocking Glass Corporation, makers of Fire King Oven Glass, Anchor Glass Containers, Anchor Caps and Closures. All products of Anchor Hocking, the most famous name in glass. Photographer is directed by John Deeks. The original music is by Archie Blyer, and the program features Miss Jan Miner as Anne and John Gibson as Ethelbert. Herman Chittison is the Blue Note pianist. Lives are lost needlessly every year when people die of tuberculosis. You do your part to prevent tuberculosis when you buy and use Christmas seals. And be sure to do your Christmas mailing early. This is Tony Marvin saying goodnight for the Anchor Hocking Glass Corporation of Lancaster, Ohio, with offices in all principal cities of the United States and Canada. This is CBS Columbia Broadcasting System.
This, I believe. Power is the keynote of our world today. The power in singing high-tension lines, in screaming jet engines, and exploding atoms. But Howard Henderson, a vice president of the J. Walter Thompson Advertising Agency and the father of 4 children, has discovered for himself another kind of power. Perhaps in the long run, it is the most important power of all. But you be the judge, as Mr. Henderson describes his discovery now.
As a boy, I experienced a series of failures, mainly in health and in surviving a tough grade school. Since success was measured in fistfights, which I usually lost, I developed an inner hunger for something which would help me get up on my feet and go on, no matter how many times I was knocked down. Gradually, I became convinced that there was a mysterious source of inner strength which was proof against any misfortune and denied to no one. A crisis in my 24th year highlighted the vivid reality of this inner strength. As a sick stranger in a Denver hospital ward, I half hoped that my fever would end in complete oblivion. For several weeks, I was like a drowning man, struggling in the water of experience, unable to swim, but clinging to a blind faith in a will wiser than my own. Then, in despair, I relaxed and found that I could swim. With a few easy strokes, I felt the water of experience supporting me instead of pulling me under to drown. My fear was gone, dissolved by a powerful upwelling of inner strength. I had won peace. Later I learned that such peace is lost and must be won again and again, but the power itself seemed available wherever I earnestly and patiently sought it. When an instructor in English at Purdue University, my class of budding engineers thought literature a waste of time and wanted to know how Emerson, for example, could help them become better electrical engineers. So I asked them about electricity, and after we had probed it together, a student said, "After all, we can report what electricity does, but we don't really know what it is." On that common ground, the human body, vitalized by its intangible life force, became clear as a motor, alive with electricity, each drawing its power from the same mysterious dynamo. Emerson was a skilled engineer of the human spirit and of the sublime source of its power. 30 years of business revealed more of this power. The head of a large company once said, "Henderson, you are in charge of our account. If you should go with another company, our business would go with you." I answered, "Such a move would be unfair to your firm. No one man could have created what we have done for you. It came from all of us, working as a whole. If I am worth anything to you, it is only as a part of my company. By himself, a man is nothing. Through the whole of which he is a part, his strength is unlimited. That larger whole may be his family, his company, his community, his world, or his God. From these come his real strength. Through more than 50 years of living, this I firmly believe. Those who seek their own answer directly from the source of all strength and wisdom will find it. In thus saving themselves, they may yet save the world."
That was Howard Henderson, a leader in his profession, advertising, and in his community, Bronxville, New York. A graduate of both Harvard College and Harvard Divinity School, he has served in the United States Navy and taught English at Purdue. But in all his pursuits, Howard Henderson has made it a point to learn strong new things about life. And just now, he has shared with us some of his lessons of strength.
Crime does not pay.
Really, gentlemen, you know by now that your recent failure severely limits your operations in this city. You must, as the saying goes, lie low for a while.
Okay, so what? You got any ideas?
If I say so myself, am the man you have been dreaming of.
Keep talking.
I fully intend to. Now then, working as I do in a firm of credit investigators, I am in a position to know which businessmen in this community are on the point of failing. Point one.
Gotcha. Keep going.
And if that were not sufficient to make me invaluable to you, I have an invention of my own, a means of setting any number of admirable bonfires with absolute safety. In fact, you can predetermine the time at which fire will strike. Point two. How can you possibly do without me, gentlemen, without me and my brief candle?
In the interest of good citizenship and law enforcement, we present Crime Does Not Pay, based on the famous Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer series of short subjects. In just a moment, you will hear The Celluloid Candle, starring Ralph Forbes. Now, Crime Does Not Pay, starring Ralph Forbes as Morgan Finchley in The Celluloid Candle. There are certain segments of organized crime, the underworld as we like to call it, whose functions in the vast and frightening structure of theft and death are purely service functions. Infamous Murder Incorporated was a segment like that. Their service was obvious in their name. And there are similar groups whose work run the gamut from stealing cars to arson and worse. Sparks Davis and Matches Andrews were a service organization. Their nicknames described their work. And both Sparks and Matches were very proud of their results. As they like to put it,
baby, when we blow them, they stay in pieces. What's left of them, and the insurance company pays. Yeah, now spread the kerosene, Matches. That watchman will be back soon. We got 20 minutes yet. I plotted his route when we cased the joint. Yeah, but we don't want him caught in the sea. That could be a murder rap. You should have been a lawyer. You and your legal worries. What do we got a mouthpiece for? Okay, kerosene's done. I want to get out of here and out of this neighborhood. What do you think this place is going to make? Let it run high. Hey, what's the chances of a big noise, huh? All the dust that sticks around a joint like this, plenty. We do this right, they'll call it spontaneous combustion. They won't even look for nothing. Okay, then. Ready? Wait a minute, let me check. Kerosene, you done? Yeah. I stuck the gasoline in the right places. Okay. Now, all we gotta do is roll the match. And then run like crazy. Good. On your mark. Get set. Go. She's so good. Say you win. Just run. All right. Slow down. You want a cop to haul us in? Yeah, nobody around this time of night. Sure, so how will you explain running, huh? Use your head, you dope. Okay, we can wait here. Light a firebox? Why not? There she goes. Now it's my turn to have fun. That does it. You like to play with matches? Me, I love to pull out alarm box. Okay, let's scram matches before the fire boys start whooping up the street. Right. Hey, ain't that a pretty one, though? 3 alarms, or I ain't no expert. And we'll collect on this one, sure. Yeah?
Mr. Davis?
Who wants him?
This is John Harris, formerly of Harris Leathers.
Oh, yeah, Harris. This is Sparks. What's cooking? You ready to pay off already?
The insurance company is holding up payment on a suggestion of the fire marshal. His name is Horton, I've been told.
Impossible. That place blew sky high.
Yes, I know, but they found traces of kerosene. The fragments of a container which they say contained gasoline. They don't accuse me of arson directly, but their hints are broad enough. And I'm a ruined man, Davis. My creditors are hounding me. It was bad enough before the fire, but now you bungled it, Davis.
Such a yap. Trouble? Yeah, the fire marshal. Anything point to us? Not unless Harris talks, and he would dare. I'll see who that is, will you? Yeah. Sure. What do you want?
My name is Finchley. Morgan Finchley. May I see Mr. Davis, please?
What do you want?
My card.
All everything. You want to see this guy, Spot? Huh? Morgan Finchley, credit investigations. Who gave me for reference? Harris? Let him in. Okay. Come in, Mr. Finchley. He'll see you.
Thank you. Good day, Mr. Davis.
Is it? Sit down. What's on your mind?
For you, Mr. Davis, and your associates, it may turn out to be a very good day.
That's so? Keep going.
An acquaintance of yours happens to be an acquaintance of mine. He referred me to you, as I happen to be interested in your line of business.
What's his name?
Harris, John Harris.
What did he tell you?
Ah, I see from your tone that he's told you your recent attempt for him has failed.
Come on, get to the point, Mr. Finchley.
I shall, very shortly.
You want to fire someplace? We work for 50%.
Really, my friend, you are rather dense.
Save the insult. Maybe I ought to throw you downstairs.
Mr. Davis, kindly restrain your overeager friend here.
Let him talk, Manchester.
Yeah, he sure has a big mouth.
All right, get it over with, Finchley. We're busy.
Really, gentlemen. You know by now that your recent failure severely limits your operations in the city. You must, as the saying goes, lie low for a while.
Okay, so what? You got any ideas?
Well, if I say so myself, am the man you have been dreaming of.
If you say so yourself. Anybody else say so?
You will, my good man, if you care to listen for a moment.
Keep talking.
I fully intend to. Now then, working as I do in a firm of credit investigators, I am in a position to know which businessmen in this community are on the point of failing. Point one.
Uh-huh. I got you. Keep going.
And if that were not sufficient to make me invaluable to you, I have an invention of my own. A means of setting any number of admirable bonfires with absolute safety. In fact, you can predetermine the time at which fire will strike. Point two. How can you possibly do without me, gentlemen? Or without me and my brief candle?
Brief candle, eh? This is a lot of talk. That candle gag's no good.
That's where you are wrong. My candle is perfect for the purpose.
You can't tell how long they'll burn. You set up an alibi, boom. Candle burns too fast, you're out of luck.
Uh-huh. But mine are made up from a special formula of my own. So much candle, so many minutes. I have them marked. Graduated like a measuring cup in half hours, and they never fail.
You got a sample?
I'm not selling candles. I'm offering a partnership.
You got a gall. Our business he tries to muscle in on, and he offers us a partnership.
Mr. Davis?
I'm still listening.
I cannot be associated in any way with prospective clients. That part I need you for. The approach, the making of the deal, part of the execution. You need me for the information on prospects to which I have access and for my candle. I suggest a three-way split, gentlemen.
You got a deal. When do we start?
At once, gentlemen, at once. I have here a list of companies whose credit is melting away. A little heat applied in the proper manner will benefit everyone. Starks, my good man?
Who else? Shoot.
Our first order is confirmed. Will you and Matches be good enough to meet me at 9 tonight at the corner of Grant and South 10th Street? We shall, I believe, spend a delightful evening. Well, not bad for one evening's work. 3 evenly distributed piles of green bill.
He likes money. He's human after all. Ain't we all?
I trust you have observed the promptitude of the insurance company, mute witness to the security provided by my method of setting a fire.
Why don't you get it patented?
Your sarcasm is both heavy-handed and misplaced, my friend. As long as I alone retain the secret of the measured candles, I need no further protection. Do I, gentlemen?
Okay, Finch, you call this meeting. What do you want?
Let us call this the semi-annual meeting of our board of directors, Sparks, shall we?
Call it anything you want. Only get it over with.
Oh, matches. Always impatient, always. Shall we call the meeting to order?
What's on your mind, Finch?
We've been together now for 6 months. Am I correct?
Yeah, just about.
Each of us has rather a decent bank balance. Correct?
So what? That any reason to drag us out to the middle of no place because you want to have a meeting by candlelight?
I selected this abandoned building in a secluded section as a particularly appropriate setting for what I have in mind.
I don't like the smell of this.
Nor would you like the substance, Sparks, my friend. You see, we have all grown wealthy on the information and the method I have supplied. I think it is true that without me, you would no longer be operating.
Now he's taking bows.
From now on, I'm taking more than bows, gentlemen. From now on, I'm taking half the income. You two may split the other half any way you choose.
What? You think we'll let you get away with that?
You have no choice, gentlemen. I have just elected myself majority stockholder and chairman of the board. Although I doubt if the Wall Street Journal will make mention of the fact.
Now I am going to bust you and right in the snoot.
I have grave doubts about that, Matthews.
So you play with guns, too?
Why not? Only I'm not playing. I'm quite serious.
Put the heater away, Finch. You can't get away with this.
Can't I? May I point out that the candle on the table is one of my own. It is a 3-hour candle. 3 hours from now, I shall be quietly ensconced in my bed after a stop at a nearby tea shop and a brief conversation with my landlady when I arrive home. You two, unless you promise to behave, will be here.
All right, get him, Mackie, with pleasure.
You see, Sparks, I'm quite serious.
Just let me get my hands on you.
Naturally not. And since you are the only witness to the death of poor, stupid Matches... Quite neat. Now, a few sheets of celluloid, thus, and then on my way. Do your work, little candle, gleaming so brightly in this dark, dark world.
In just a moment, Crime Does Not Pay will continue with the Celluloid Candle. Now we continue with Crime Does Not Pay, starring Ralph Forbes as Morgan Finchley in The Celluloid Candle. It would, of course, be pleasant to report that Morgan Finchley walked out of his meeting with the unfortunate Sparks and Matches directly into the arms of the proper authorities. But such was not the case. His candle did its work. By the time the fire department arrived, the old frame building was beyond saving. Sparks and Matches were unidentifiable in the smoldering ruins. Morgan Finchley was on his own, and he operated accordingly.
Mr. Darlington, I am a credit investigator.
Yes, so your card informed me.
Therefore, I am in a position to know the financial status of many businessmen.
Obviously. But what you have to do with me, I hardly see.
I think you do see, Mr. Darlington. Darlington Mills are on the verge of bankruptcy.
What are you driving at, Finchley?
I have the means to rescue you from your predicament, Mr. Darlington.
Then you're a genius.
In some respects, yes. You see, I happen to know that you are rather heavily insured. Fire insurance, Mr. Darlington.
Ridiculous. You'd never get away with it.
Perhaps you have heard of the Union Shirt Factory, the stateside chemical company, the Master Tailor clothing plant.
You set those fires?
Oh, let's not be crudely direct, Mr. Darlington. Let us say rather that I was part of the modus operandi which enabled those companies to collect sufficient insurance to get back on their feet.
Well, if you did that, you are a genius.
I consider myself rather a benefactor of humanity, Mr. Darlington. You see, without my efforts, many people would now be out of work. As is, they're all gainfully employed. And, well, many small boys have been delighted to see the engines roll and watch the firemen at their work.
You're a rascal, Finchley. But I think we may be able to do business. Really, gentlemen, I see no cause for this summary treatment. Why have I been brought here?
I'm the fire marshal, Darlington. Horton's the name. This is Sergeant Newell, homicide detail.
How do you do, Mr. Darlington? Yes, how do you do? I'd still like to know
why we sent a radio car for you.
Yes, I'm a busy man. A new site for my factory. I must see the insurance company.
I see, yes, the insurance. Well, it won't be paid just yet, Mr. Darlington. I've requested the company to withhold payment.
You've exceeded your authority.
Have I? When my men searching the remains of your plant found the main sprinkler valve intact and closed, Mr. Darlington.
I don't quite follow.
I think you do. I think you know that whoever set that fire for you closed that valve before the incendiary material went off.
I had no such idea.
And perhaps you had no idea, Darlington, that a fireman was killed inside your factory.
What? I had no idea.
The fact was kept out of the newspapers at the request of homicide. A death caused by a fire of incendiary origin, Darlington, changes the charge from arson to murder.
That's why you're here?
That's why you're here, too.
But this is... It's ridiculous. I wasn't even near the place.
You think we're complete fools, Darlington?
But why me?
Because you were on the edge of ruin, Darlington. This we know.
It's more than arson now. It's murder. Now, if you tell us, we might let you plead to an attempt to defraud.
If not, you'll face arson and conspiracy charges.
And the murder charge.
Now, who set that fire for you?
We'll find out anyway, Darlington, so you better talk.
We mean business talk, or we book you for murder.
Now, stop stalling. You're caught and you know it.
All right, gentlemen. I'll talk.
Will you repeat what you're going to say to a stenographer?
Yes. Yes, of course.
All right, start talking.
His name is Morgan Finchley. He works for a credit firm.
Which one?
I don't know.
Undoubtedly an alias, anyway.
All right, Darlington, go on.
Well, he made an offer. He knew how close to the edge I was. And, heaven help me, I took the offer. It looked like a way out. I never thought anyone would get hurt.
That's what they all say. They never thought.
Can you identify this man?
If I ever see him again,
I hope you will. I sincerely hope you will.
Meanwhile, you'll be watched, Darlington. If he attempts to contact you, let me know and we'll tell you what to do.
Is that all?
Except that I have to go to that fireman's funeral. That's all for now.
It's a neat proposition, isn't it, Mr. Lowry?
Very neat indeed, and apparently no risk on my part.
Precisely. Are we in business together, Mr. Lowry?
You want half the insurance?
Yeah, that's my usual price for my services and silence, Mr. Lowry.
All right, Finchley, but work quickly. My creditors are closing in fast.
Sprinkler turned off. Windows just right for a good draft. Candle and celluloid protected from the open window. And all these inflammable. Lovely, lovely, just lovely. Now, small candle flame in the gloom. How pretty. To paraphrase the bard, burns, burns, leaf candle, life's but a walking shadow. A poor player that struts and sets his hour upon the stage and then burns no more. It is a tale told by an idiot full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. On your way, Morgan Finchley. I wonder what poor old Matches would have thought of my erudition.
Just a moment, you.
Are you addressing me, officer?
I am. What are you doing in this neighborhood this time of night?
Why, this has been a pastime of mine for years. I enjoy wandering about the factory districts at night when they're deserted.
Oh, you do you? And how do I know you didn't come out of, say, the Lowry warehouse just before I turned the corner?
Oh, this is preposterous. I'm a respectable citizen. I will not be treated like a common criminal.
Sorry, mister. We got orders. Pick up everyone. Vagrancy charges. Too much burglary hereabouts recently. Come along quietly now.
I demand the jailer. I demand to know what I'm held for. A citizen has a right to know the charge placed against him. Jailer! Jailer!
All right, quiet, you. Quiet.
I've never been treated like this in my life. My pockets emptied, incarcerated, ignored. Makes the third degree. Well, at long last. At long last indeed.
This way.
Where's my property?
You'll see Sergeant Newell.
Is that the red-faced person behind the desk?
You'll find out. Save the conversation. In here.
You the man they picked up at Thousand John Street?
I am.
Booked under the name of Marvin Forster?
I am, and I demand...
My name is
know...
Newell, Sergeant Homicide. This is Fire Marshal Horton.
Well, I am honored, gentlemen.
Are you?
I'm afraid I do not understand your attitude, gentlemen. I am a respectable citizen.
Who set fire to the Lowry warehouse tonight?
The Lowry? Oh. The place your good policeman accused me of breaking and entering.
It caught fire less than 1 hour after you were picked up.
But in that case, I was safely in your very strong jail, gentlemen.
Save it, Finchley.
Are you addressing me, sir?
Definitely. Your hotel key was in your pocket. We searched your room with a warrant. We found you'd registered under Morgan Finchley, but you gave us a different name. And we found... Tell him, Marshal.
We found a supply of sheet celluloid and a dozen candles with tie markings on them. We've got you, Finchley.
We had you in our pocket, Finchley, by accident, but we had you. The general pickup order paid off.
You can't prove anything. It's all circumstantial.
We've got Lowry, too. He'll identify if he knows what's good for him. And your old friend Darlington has already had a look at you. He knows you. Knows you well enough to put the finger on you for murder.
I'm being framed. That's it. I'm being framed. I can't get away with it. You'll pay for this. All of you. You can't do it.
Oh, shut up, will you? You're done and you know it. Now throw him back in his cell and take away his tie, belt, and shoelaces. This is one arson bug who's really going to burn.
Crime does not pay. Ralph Forbes, who was starred as Morgan Finchley in The Celluloid Candle, will be back with you in just a moment. Now here in person is Ralph Forbes.
Men like Morgan Finchley could not operate unless so-called honest citizens, in moments of weakness or worse, decide to make use of their nefarious skills. Think about this a moment. Think of the losses involved to every one of us in property, self-respect, and the added taxes demanded for increased law enforcement. Think of it this way, and you'll see that for everyone, everywhere, not merely the criminal, crime does not pay.
Thank you, Mr. Forbes. Crime Does Not Pay is written by Ira Marion and directed by Mark C. Loeb, with music composed and conducted by John Gart. Technical advisor is Burton B. Turkis. The events, characters, and names used in the story you've just heard are fictitious. Any similarity is purely coincidental. This is Bob Williams speaking.
This I believe. Hubert T. Delaney is Justice of the Domestic Relations Court of the City of New York. He was born in Raleigh, the son of an ex-slave who became an Episcopal bishop. He was educated and entered government service in New York, receiving his appointment to the bench from the late Mayor Fiorello H. LaGuardia in 1942. This is Judge Delaney's creed.
I was once invited by a clergyman to address his congregation during Brotherhood Week. He warned me that though we were of the same religious faith, his congregation might not receive me cordially because I happened to be of a different race and color than they. This warning caused me to ask myself, who am I that people who did not know me and had never seen me should choose to be hostile toward me? I answered this question in my own mind. When I went to the church, I introduced myself to the audience as follows. I am an individual just like each of you, who had nothing whatsoever to do with choosing who my parents would be. I, like you, did not know whether I would be born of parents who were rich or poor, black or white, Jew or Gentile. I did not know whether I would be born in America or on foreign soil, or whether my parents would speak English or Hottentot. I, like you, did not know whether I would be born of parents who were the owners of a large mansion, or would be living in a slum tenement unfit for human habitation. I, like you, did not know whether I would be born of parents who were drunkards or high priests. As a matter of fact, I had nothing whatsoever to do with deciding whether my parents would be married at all. In this somewhat unconventional way, I introduced myself. At the close of the religious services, people came up to me and said they had never realized before just how, but for the accident of birth, any one of us might be the other. They told me this gave them a new and a broader point of view. And my own awareness of who I was and who, but for the accident of birth, I might have been, strengthened my faith in the conviction that all human beings are the children of one Creator, and that the Creator of this earth intended that all of the peoples who inhabit the earth should share together the benefits and blessings of the earth to their full use and enjoyment. I also believe that all men were created equal, and that any differences in the physical or mental capacities of man today, or of the skills and initiative with which man uses his talents, are due either to environmental factors or are the byproducts of man's inhumanity toward man in what has become a struggle by some men for more power and for the possession of more worldly goods than they need to enjoy the benefits and blessings of this earth. Applying these beliefs to everyday life, it seems clear to me that people who really believe in democracy as a way of life can no longer tolerate one measure of justice and equality for some people and a different measure for others. This I believe, and this I try to practice. Now, what are some of the specific things I have found important in my own life in this connection? I have found that it is important to follow in my daily life and in the public service the doctrine common to us all. Do unto others as you would be done by, even if you were unlucky enough to be in the shoes of those who are compelled to appear before you at the bar of justice. Each day, as people appear before me, I am concerned not so much with being known as an erudite judge as with being known as a human judge, as a defender of the rights and liberties of all the people. Each day as I open court and look upon those who come before me seeking justice, I say to myself, there but for the grace of God go I.
That was Justice Hubert T. Delaney of New York City's Domestic Relations Court. He is active in a wide range of organizations, including the YMCA, the National Lawyers Guild, and the Episcopal Church.
Calling all detectives. A man is murdered, and the only clue to his death is a hand of stud poker. That is the situation on this page from my casebook. The casebook of Jerry Browning, private detective. A private detective like me, Jerry Browning, knows that no matter how lucky a killer seems, murder is always a losing gamble. The Club Coquette is the kind of joint that attracts high society and low characters. It offers blackjack, roulette, chuck-a-luck, and every other standard device for losing your money. The reason I was in the place was because I was being paid to be there. Ace Hogan owned the Coquette. Marty Wilson ran a rival joint out on River Road. Tonight, Ace and Marty were going to bury the hatchet, and my job was to make sure they didn't bury it in each other's heads. The people around the roulette wheel were betting $10 chips like nickels. Right up against the table was young Wade Julian. Hello, Jerry. How are you doing? I'm not betting, Julie, just watching. Lucky you. These 6 chips are the last of 1,500. Well, here goes nothing. Did I say nothing? I was so right. Excuse me, Jerry. Gotta see Ace. Arranged for a little credit. I watched him go. So, Wade Julian, 4-gold polo player, had gambling debts. Too bad. I walked over to one of the 26 girls, picked up the dice cup, and bet $1 on 5s. I threw 1 5 4 times in a row, and 2 5s for the next 6 rolls. Not so good. Then I felt a hand on my shoulder. Ace Hogan, the boss.
You picked the wrong number, Jerry. You should have took aces like me. Hey, wait a minute. These aren't house dice. This dame is cheating you.
He glared at the girl.
Sister, I don't stand for cheating. Scram out of here and take your crooked ivories with you.
Ace turned on his heel and walked upstairs. A couple of minutes later, Marty Wilson, the rival joint owner, came in, nodded to me, and went upstairs. By then, the dice girl had taken her hat and coat and disappeared. I waited around for Ace and Marty to call me. I waited almost an hour. Then... Ace was upstairs in his office, alone, and very dead. Called in as arbitrator between 2 rival gamblers, I discovered that Ace Hogan, one of the gamblers, had been murdered. Lieutenant Dawson of Homicide stared suspiciously at me.
Jerry, is this all there was on his desk? Just his playing cards?
I nodded. Ace's body lay slumped over the desk, as though he'd made a last desperate attempt to get help, or his killer. In front of him was a deck of cards and a hand of stud poker. The exposed cards were the 2, 3, 4, and 6 of diamonds. I picked up the 5th card, which was face down. It was the ace of spades. Dawson had a theory about that.
Ace was playing 2-handed poker with somebody. They got into a fight. Ace had the losing hand and lost his life, too.
I shrugged. Maybe. Ace was pretty busy tonight. He had a meeting scheduled with Marty Wilson, a run-in with a crooked dice girl, and even Wade Julian, the polo player, wanted to see him. When would he have time to play poker? Dawson didn't know. He was too busy taking down the names I mentioned and ordering the arrest of their owners. But I kept thinking of that poker hand. I went on home after a while and fell asleep dreaming of a straight flush in diamonds ruined by the ace of spades in the hole. I sat up suddenly in bed, said out loud, "The 5 of diamonds is missing, whatever that means." Out of the darkness, a voice answered me.
Don't mean a thing, Jerry. Not a thing.
I blinked as light suddenly flooded the room. After a few seconds, I made out Marty Wilson sitting in a chair and dangling a revolver on one finger.
Honest to goodness, Jerry, I like you, but I'm awful nervous. Don't do anything to make this gun go off.
I feel sorry for nervous people, so I sat real still. Dawson has a warrant for you, Marty.
Yeah, that's why I'm nervous. Guy like me, a gambler, has no chance. They got me convicted in advance. Sure, I talked to Ace, but we got along fine. He was a square guy. We fixed up the major, and I drove back to my own joint. Ain't a fair chance I got of anybody believing me.
Look, Marty, I believe you. And the only chance you've got is to give yourself up.
You're crazy.
Okay, make yourself hard to find and see what happens when they do find you, Marty. He rubbed his chin thoughtfully.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Okay, get dressed and make it snappy. I'm your prisoner.
Dawson was at headquarters by the time we got there, and he wasn't happy about getting out of bed either.
So, decided to give yourself up, Wilson. Sergeant booked this man along with the other 2.
Give him a break, Dawson. He gave himself up voluntarily. And what about the other 2 you've got locked up? They can't all be guilty.
At 2 in the morning, everybody's guilty. I'm going back to bed.
The next day, I got permission to talk to the other prisoners. The 26th girl was sitting alone in a lockup cell. She was still wearing the hat and coat I'd seen her in when she left the Club Coquette. Her eyes were red and swollen from crying. She kept insisting that she hadn't meant to cheat me at dice, and anyway, she didn't keep the money for herself, and besides, she wouldn't kill a nice guy like Ace Hogan. I listened for a while and promised to do what I could. In another cell, Wade Julian, the polo player, was a little more self-possessed.
Jerry, I don't know a thing about Ace's murder. Sure, I owed him a lot of money, but I've owed him money before and paid it. I talked to him, and he offered me credit, just as he did before. I didn't have to kill him.
I'll check into it, Julie. My last interview was with Marty, the gambler. I found him sitting on his cot, a deck of cards spread out before him. What are you doing, Marty? Playing solitaire?
Yeah. A guy has to pass the time, doesn't he?
Sure, Marty. Did you play poker with Ace when you saw him? Marty stared at me.
We talk business. Why should we play poker?
There were cards spread out on his desk. A poker hand, just like you've got spread out. Marty grinned.
This ain't poker. It's blackjack. Every gambler plays it by himself to see can he beat himself.
Blackjack? Of course, it had to be that. Marty, in blackjack, the ace counts for 1 or 11. Add to that the 2, 3, 4, and 6, and you have
16 or 26. Why?
26. In his dying moments, Ace named his killer the 26th girl, who killed him because he found out she was a thief. That cracked it. I got the 26th girl upstairs, showed her the card layout. After a while, she lost her nerve and confessed. Ace had tried to make her give back the money she'd stolen with a crooked dice, so she shot him. Just a nice girl. Like I said, every killer thinks he's smarter than other people. But nobody can get away with murder. It isn't in the cards. Listen next time to Calling All Detectives, mystery drama, mystery quiz, and a chance for you to match wits with yours truly, Jerry Browning, Private Detective.
No, Betty, no. Don't make me...
I say yes. It's got to be. Now and here. She's got to die.
Betty.
I say yes. Here. I'll hold her arm.
All right, Betty, but...
No, don't. I don't want to die.
Midnight. The witching hour when the night is darkest, our fears the strongest, and our strength at its lowest ebb. Midnight, when the graves gape open and death strikes. How? You'll learn the answer in just a minute in Nightmare. Murder at Midnight. Tales of mystery and terror by radio's Masters of the Macabre. Our story by Joseph Ruskall is one of the most terrifying and fantastic nightmares we've ever heard. Its title, Nightmare.
It's Ernie.
What? Where am I?
In bed. Where do you suppose? It's almost 12 o'clock. I wish you'd let me get some sleep.
Oh, thank heaven. Oh, it
Must have been just a dream. Oh, thank the Lord. Oh, Ernie, it was so real. I dreamed somebody was leaning over me just now with a pillow. Oh, it was horrible. They were trying to smother me to death. And Ernie.
Yeah?
It was you.
What? Oh, that's a beaut. Where's the light? Oh, my aching back. Why, you poor, foolish little... Come here, Butch. I'll kiss you back.
No, don't touch me. Keep away.
Huh? What is this?
That pillow in your hand.
Oh, for crying out, Bells. Can't I even straighten it out?
Sorry, dear. Gee, don't mind me, but that horrible nightmare, it seemed so real. Oh, darling, wasn't that crazy? You, the sweetest, gentlest husband in the world.
Then why...
Oh, Ernie, now please don't look so hurt.
Now I can't even look hurt. I just murdered my wife in her sleep, didn't I?
No, you were just about to.
Oh, now what the... Everything's happening tonight. Hello. What? Who? Wrong number. And what's more, this is a heck of a time to be ringing. Why, what a nerve. What a night. Thought maybe that was the police you phoned in your dream. Now will you go to sleep?
Ernie Kraft, I'm sure I didn't mean to insinuate anything. I was just telling you my dream. You asked, didn't you?
Oh, you're a character. I guess I'll have to put you in that book I never wrote, too. Well, now what?
That was in it, too.
Huh?
That book you never wrote. You've nagged about it so much, no wonder. Oh, and that look when you bent over me, like a madman. Oh. Ernie, what on earth do you suppose made me have a nightmare?
That's easy. You would insist on eating hamburgers after the show tonight.
Yes, I did, didn't I, when we got out of the movies? Hamburgers, of course. Ernie, they were part of my dream, too. Hamburgers. Ernie, stop punching on that pillow, please.
All right. Go ahead, then. Better tell me your dream, all of it. Neither of us will sleep until you do. I'll just light this butt. There. Now, let's have gruesome details.
Well, I don't know if I can remember now. It was all so hazy and terrifying.
Well, what happened before I smothered you with a pillow?
A crazy quilt. Something about your job, and I was a millstone around your neck, and hamburgers, and you hated me, and July 15th.
July 15th?
Yes, I can't imagine what that meant.
Look. Start at the start. Why did I decide to murder you?
Because of that other woman, your secret love.
Huh?
You promised her you'd kill me tonight when I was asleep.
My secret love?
Yes, she had you in her spell.
Oh, that's kind of bad casting, isn't it, Butch? I'm the dishes and dustpan type, remember? In the 5 years we've been married, have I ever looked at another?
I know. I told you it was a crazy dream.
Maybe you want me to eliminate my one night a week out, too, my Saturday gin rummy with the boys.
Oh, no.
Who was my secret love? Did she have a face?
Oh, this is the silliest part of it, Ernie. It's absolutely ridiculous. It was that girl, Betty Daniels.
Betty Daniels? Who's she?
You remember that tall, dark-haired artist I introduced you to at Cape Cod last summer? At the exhibition.
No, I don't. Oh, wait a minute. Trousers, long cigarette holder,
yes.
Very intense.
Yes, very intense.
What the devil? What was she doing in your dream? We said hello to her, we walked off, and that was that. Casual.
Yes, I know. I hardly remember myself. I can't imagine why I dreamt of her. Why? No, don't touch me. Don't. No. Oh, that dream. That awful dream. So crazy. And yet it seemed to be telling me something, warning me. Strange and weird. You know how dreams are. First thing I remember is Provincetown and us looking at the art exhibition just the way we did last summer. Only now the picture was about 10 feet tall and hanging crooked. And then she came along. Betty Daniels. Just the way she did then.
Hello, Helen?
And I introduced you the same as I did then, only not exactly the same. Like in a dream. You know, silly. Betty Daniels, this is my husband, Ernest. He is very faithful to me.
How do you do?
How do you do? We've never met.
That's a marvelous Goya painting, Helen, don't you think? Or do you prefer hamburgers? Well,
My wife prefers hamburgers, Miss Daniels.
Oh, I didn't know.
Only after a movie, though. Anyway, I'm sure I can't tell one painting from another. My husband's the art lover in the family, I guess, and I just tag along for the fish. Only I don't like fish, I like hamburgers.
I know. You don't wear trousers like I do. You're fluffy.
Betty and I met on the beach, Ernie. She's a painter. Our rowboats got tangled. That's how we met.
Yes, it was all very casual. I hardly remember.
Well.
Ernie and I are going back to New York today. Isn't that a shame? I wish you two wouldn't stare at each other so.
Well, we better run along, Helen. Lots of packing to do.
Ernie has got to get back to his silly old job. He's a reporter.
A reporter? Shouldn't he write a book he never wrote?
Well, imagine. That's what he always says. Well, goodbye. I'm wondering why I'm thinking of you now. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
The scenes sort of dissolve into each other like a kind of dream movie. And I'm trembling with fright because I have a feeling I know how the plot's going to end. The next thing I remember, Ernie, I'm in a penthouse apartment on Park Avenue. Everything zigzag, even the butler. And I'm the maid, Helen, there. And what I'm doing is turning pages for Betty Daniels while she plays the piano. For you, Ernie. Isn't that crazy? Neither of you hardly notice me at all. And I keep trying to open my mouth. Like that. But it's stuck, and I'm absolutely frozen at what I overhear.
Darling.
Yes, Butch.
Love our loveness.
Out of this world. Ah, this is heaven.
Ernie, do you ever call your wife Butch?
Never. What gave you that idea? I hate the very sight of her.
She's really a little ignoramus.
You're telling me she prefers hamburgers.
Ernie, do you think she suspects yet?
Of course not. She thinks I'm at a gin rummy game.
Darling, you're blind, but she's not. She knows.
She knows? How'd she find out?
You may go, Helen. Helen, do you hear me? Why don't you go? Answer me. Have you lost your tongue?
Oh, well, there's murder in the air.
How'd she find out, Betty? Tell me.
Darling, do you suppose she doesn't know what happened last summer in Provincetown? After we all said goodbye, you came to look for your cigarette lighter. She knew you hadn't lost your lighter, that you'd come back to ask me for my New York telephone number.
She knew?
Of course, intuition. She knows we've been having a secret affair ever since. I can't go on like this. I'm tired of being just a gin rummy excuse. Ernie, if you love me, you'll do what I promised.
But I pity her so.
Don't be a fool. Isn't it her fault you never wrote that book you never wrote?
It's true. She wouldn't let me give up my job. She's a millstone around my neck.
Then get rid of her, Ernie. Get rid of her, and I'll bring your genius to the world. I've plenty of money, and you can give up reporting and write that book. Fulfill your destiny.
Fulfill my destiny. Oh, Betty, you'll help me.
Yes. But only forget July 15th. You'll forget about July 15th. It won't mean a thing to you from now on.
Not a thing, I promise.
And you'll do away with her. The way I told you.
Yes, like you told me.
The pillow.
The pillow. Don't let her hear.
Just look at her standing there at the piano. You've been spying on us, Helen, haven't you? Haven't you? Answer, have you lost your tongue? Oh, don't try to fool us. We know you're the real Helen and not the maid. She's heard everything we've said, Ernie. So we'll have to kill her now.
Unless she gives me a divorce.
Will you give him a divorce? Answer or we'll finish you right now. Very well. Here's the pillow, Ernie. Right now. I'll hold her on.
Answer, Helen. Don't make me do it. Answer, Helen. I pity you, but I hate you.
Let her cry. Look at her. Stricken dumb. Her mouth moving, but she's not saying anything.
What are you trying to say? Helen, please don't make me do it. Will you give me a divorce? Tell me.
Ernie, stop. Fools we are. Do you want her body found here? I'll hang for you.
She's got to die.
She's got it. No, not here. Not like this. There must be some other way. Later tonight, Ernie. After the movies. Hamburgers. She'll get hungry for hamburgers. She's bound to. The waiter will ask her how she wants them. That'll give you the clue. And then, when she's asleep... and they'll find her in her bed. The perfect crime. Don't you see, Ernie? Hamburgers.
A frightened girl reliving a dream that was more terrible than any reality. A dream that could even become more terrible as the clock on the mantel ticks on and the hands draw closer to 12 o'clock and... Murder at midnight. And now back to Murder at Midnight and Nightmare.
Well, let's hear the rest of this dream of yours, Helen. What happened after that?
Well, it was after that it really got bad. It was so crazy, but so real. I don't know what stopped you, Ernie. Kept you from killing me then, but you didn't. And still I knew you were going to. You dragged me out into the street and then into a movie and then out again. And I looked at you and you were crying because you'd made up your mind to finish me off when we got home.
You should have let me write that book, Helen. You should have.
And I kept crying, I love you, Ernie. Don't kill me, please. Don't kill me tonight.
But I've got to. I've got to. I pity you, but I've got to.
And you pulled me along through the streets again. I was terrified. And then I saw a policeman and I cried to him, "Officer!"
Yes? What is it, lady?
Please save me. My husband here wants to kill me.
Oh, wants to kill you, eh? Why, that's a crime. A felony.
Oh, why are you joking? Don't joke about it. Do something, please. I'm frightened to death.
Don't pay any attention to her, officer. She's dreaming.
I'm not. Don't believe him. He wants to wait till I go to sleep tonight. And then as soon as I fall asleep...
Oh, come now, lady. He wouldn't do it to you in your sleep. Why, you're cute. Not in her sleep now. Would you, mister?
Of course not, officer. Not in her sleep. As a matter of fact, we're stopping off first for a hamburger. She's hungry.
No, I'm not. I mean, I am, but I don't dare. I'm starving, but I don't dare. He's just waiting for me to order one, officer, to see what I'll say. And then he'll take me home and kill me.
Oh, lady, stop. Sure, and you're breaking me heart.
Come along, dear.
No, officer, please protect me. Don't let him take me, please.
Come along, I say, darling.
And then we were in the little lunchroom in our neighborhood, around the corner from our house, sitting on stools. The counterman came over to us. He winked at you, Ernie, and you winked back at him, and he said...
Evening, folks. What do you have?
You looked at me, but I shook my head. I shook my head, and the tears were streaming down my face.
I tell you what, Joe. Make it 2 hamburgers.
Right. Rare, medium, or well?
Medium, Joe. Make mine medium.
Right. And the little lady?
How do you have yours, Helen? How do you like yours? Make hers medium, too.
2 hamburgers, medium.
2 medium. Coming out.
And what do you have on them, folks? Relish or onion?
Relish. Make mine with relish, Joe.
Right. And the little lady?
The man's talking to you, Helen. How'll you have yours? Answer him, I say. Answer him. This is it. How'll you have yours?
No, I won't tell him. If I do, you'll know how to do it, so I won't tell him. I won't. The next thing I dreamt, we were home again, sitting in the parlor, everything exactly the same, Ernie, just like tonight before we went to bed. But in my dream, I was sitting paralyzed in a cold sweat, waiting for the word from you that meant my death.
Well, Butch, I guess we better hit the hay. What do you say? What do you say, darling?
No, wait, Ernie, did I tell that counterman how I wanted my hamburgers served?
Of course, dear.
What did I say? I can't seem to remember.
Oh, I forget to come along to bed.
No, I don't want to go to bed yet. Please don't make me go to bed. I'm scared.
Ellen. Come to bed, darling. Like a good little girl. Hmm?
We went to bed. And then you said...
And now, lights out, eh?
I tried to think of everything I knew to keep awake. I wondered whether I ought to count to 100 or whether counting would put me to sleep. I tried not to count, but I felt myself getting sleepier and sleepier.
Asleep, honey?
I heard, but I pretended not to. I fought to keep my eyes open. I knew I would die if I closed them.
Asleep, Butch?
I didn't answer. I couldn't if I wanted to. I was so scared. And then pretty soon I heard you stirring ever so quietly. And in a moment you were leaning over me. Oh, Ernie, I know it was just a dream, but it was so real. And there was hatred in your eyes, and there was a pillow in your hand, and I knew you were going to do it right then, and
Oh, that's a beaut, that's a honey. Oh, my aching back. Darling, when you have a nightmare, you sure do it up golden brown and crazy.
Wasn't it crazy? Oh, darling, wasn't it mad?
Oh, wait till I tell it around the office tomorrow. Oh, this is too good, kid.
But, Ernie, how does a person have a horrible dream like that? What does it mean?
Oh, it's a cinch. I'll interpret it for you, and without a dream book,
You
too.
will? Well, go on then, Ernie. Tell me.
Okay, then here it is. First of all, a dream always means the opposite, right? You ever hear that?
Yes, I have. That's right, it does.
Which means I must love you simply awful. Granted?
Granted, silly. But goodness, what about the rest of it?
Easiest thing in the world. Darling, where'd we go tonight?
To a movie.
What kind of a movie?
It was a murder story. Gee, that's right. Do you think that was...
Now, don't interrupt, Butch. Who was starring in the movie?
Betty Davis?
Repeat the first name.
Betty.
And the villainess in the dream, my secret love, the girl we met last summer, was also Betty. Betty Daniels.
Oh!
Well, that gave you Betty on the brain when you went to sleep tonight, and movies and murder, and those hamburgers you did stop to eat after the show wrapped up the whole sequence. And no wonder. They're still lying on my stomach, too.
Well, what was the pillow doing in it?
Sweetness and light, what were you talking about early this evening? That chore you intend to get after someday?
Oh, yes, I've got to stuff the pillows. They're caved in the way the feathers have come out.
Right, that's your pillow you had on the brain, which brings me back to the hamburgers.
Yes, I was going to ask you. I mean, that nonsense of how did I want my hamburgers, what did all that mean, for heaven's sake?
Precious, how did you order your hamburgers done tonight? Remember?
No, I can't recall.
Of course you can. Think now. How do you almost always order your hamburgers?
Well, smothered in onions. Oh, Ernie, of course. Smothered in onions. Smother, pillow, smother with a pillow.
Jack.
Oh, my heaven's sakes alive. Oh, my gosh. So that was it. Oh, if that doesn't beat... Ernie, that was wonderful. Really. The way you did that, figured that all out. I think you'd make a terrific detective.
Yeah, so I'm a police reporter. Close enough.
Darling, it's made me think, though, about maybe I have been a little bit selfish.
What do you mean?
Well, that book you always want to write. Maybe I ought to let you give up your job and try.
Oh, and have us both starve? Nuts. Anyway, in my sane moments, Helen, I've always known the truth. I'm no writer. If I had it in me, it would have come out of me, job or no job.
I could go back to work again, you know. I could take up nursing again. It was pretty hard,
No, nonsense. I won't have it. I won't say any more about it, and that's fine. You're a swell guy, though, Butch, to offer to.
Oh, there was one thing more, Ernie.
Yeah?
What do you suppose that was all that about July 15th, about your forgetting July 15th? What did that mean, you know?
Yes. Don't you?
No, I can't. It does seem familiar, but I can't seem to... Where are you going?
Get something out of my wallet. Wait a minute. What's the date of our anniversary, Helen?
July 15th, of course. Tomorrow. What was that?
Right. You've had that on the brain, too.
Oh.
Here. Little present for you, darling.
Oh, what on earth? Tickets. 2 railroad tickets to Montreal.
Right again. We're taking an anniversary trip. I wanted to surprise you when you woke up, but... Well, anyway, happy anniversary, baby.
Oh, Ernie. Oh, you great big precious darling. How can I ever... You didn't forget. You always did before, but this time you did. Oh, Ernie, I just can't stand it. First that dream and then finding out that it did me just the opposite.
No, Helen, don't.
It's so sweet of you. I'm so thrilled. Montreal, where we had our honeymoon, and you haven't forgotten. Oh, Ernie, I do hope I've been a good wife to you. And if there's anything I ever... I mean, if you want me to, I can always change.
Darling, I wouldn't want you any different for the world. I want you to stay just the same sweet little girl I married. And now, let's get some shut-eye, huh? Lights out?
All right. And I'm going to put the tickets right here under the pillow. And have a happy dream for a change.
Good night, Butch.
You haven't kissed me? Good night, dear.
Asleep, darling. Darling, are you asleep? Hello?
Ernie?
You shouldn't have phoned before, Betty. She was still awake.
I had to know. Is it done?
Not yet.
You got the tickets?
Yes.
It has to be tonight. Promised.
I know.
Is she asleep now?
Yes. Just gone off.
Then what are you waiting for?
Nothing. I'll do it now. Right now. As soon as I hang up.
Putting down the phone, Ernie turns and picks the pillow off his bed as the clock finishes striking 12. Murder! Midnight. Remember to be with us again when death appears out of the darkness, wearing the face of one you know. And the clocks strike 12 for Murder at Midnight. Margaret Helen was played by Elspeth Eric. Walter Vaughn was Ernie. With music by Charles Paul, Murder at Midnight was directed by Anton M. Leader.
I Believe. Dr. Hudson Hoagland is a scientist. As an experimental physiologist, executive director of the Worcester Foundation for Experimental Biology, he probes such things as our nervous systems and our endocrine glands. But he's had time for vivid reflection about the greater mysteries of life, too.
I believe that basic values from our rich cultural heritage contain all of the ingredients needed to solve the problems that plague our modern world. From the ancient Greeks came our belief in the importance of intellectual honesty and free inquiry. From Judaism and Christianity have come our religion and faith in the brotherhood of man. Primarily from Rome and England, we have derived our humane legal code, which holds that a man is innocent until proved guilty and is not guilty when charged. From Magna Carta on through 18th and 19th century liberalism and our Bill of Rights has come my conception of the rights of man. The state is for man, and man must not be a pawn of the state. All of these add up to my belief in the dignity of the individual, in the dignity of yourself and myself as individuals, with freedom to choose, and if we wish, to be unorthodox in the honest choice of our opinions. What Chief Justice Holmes has referred to as the right of dissent, that is, the right to disagree with authority, is essential for the survival and advancement both of science and of the democratic society. Without the exercise of this right, I believe that knowledge ceases to grow and democracy is turned to tyranny. I believe that the norms of ethics, the purposes and values by which we live, are not static but dynamic and subject to education and evolution, and that we have a moral obligation to be intelligent as well as honest in appraising the consequences of action and so directing our values in terms of these consequences. I believe that much that ails the world today is a result of the fact that many people everywhere have surrendered their freedom of choice in favor of the easy slogans of dictators and demagogues with their false solutions and authoritarian panaceas. Since I have spent a quarter of a century doing research in the biological and medical sciences, it is inevitable that my beliefs should be colored by this background. Science and democracy have advanced hand in hand over the last 300 years. Without the cultural climate of Western democracy, science, with its wide impact on human affairs, could not, I believe, have developed. German science deteriorated under the Nazis, and the science of genetics has already been destroyed behind the Iron Curtain. While I believe that science is a technique of the greatest importance for the acquisition of true knowledge, and that truth is intrinsically good, I am fully aware of the limitations of science. The frontiers of the unknown hem me in on all sides, and I am conscious of how little I know according to the rigorous criteria of scientific validity. These limitations are especially conspicuous in the realm of values in human affairs. I believe that there are other approaches to truth. Thus, literature, history, the arts, religion, and the experiences that come from living with one's fellows are for different aspects of truth. In daily affairs, I must make decisions and act on evidence that is entirely inadequate for scientific conclusions, but I nonetheless believe that the more objectively reasonable are my acts, the more nearly will they serve the values I live by. Reason and the basic sciences have emancipated us from the superstitions of the Dark Ages. I have faith that reason and loyalty to our historically tested values, derived by the struggles of free men over the centuries, can do more than anything else to resolve the tragic problems of our time. This is not an easy road, but I know of no shortcuts.
That was Dr. Hudson Hoagland, a physiologist and teacher from Shrewsbury, Massachusetts, who has learned much himself about the business of living.
Yes, you say it couldn't have been either an accident or suicide?
No, Patsy, it couldn't.
But Trudy says Mr. Briggs was alone in this study at the time.
I know it sounds impossible, Patsy, but somehow I believe he's telling the truth.
But who fired the gun that killed Briggs? Oh, that's really the $64 question.
No, Patsy. The newspapers are right about Briggs' estate. That's the $4 million question.
Now for the case of the Devil's Left Eye. Today's adventure starring Lon Clark as Nick Carter, brought to you by new post-war Old Dutch cleanser. Lucky Bristol is a very polite individual.
In fact, his first rule for success in running a gambling house is always be polite to the the customers. As for his second rule, well, Lucky is in his private office now, politely explaining it to one of the said customers.
The way I figure it, Mr. Willard, what's the use of winning if you can't collect? And so I make it a rule to always collect.
Oh, how much do I owe you, Lucky?
Better than 50 grand. More than I ever let anybody gyp me out of.
Well, you know, Lucky, those are gambling debts. Legally, you can't collect a cent on them.
100% correct, Mr. Willard. So when I run into a welcher, I have to use methods that aren't so legal.
If you're threatening me...
Why, I wouldn't harm a hair of your head, Mr. Willard. But you could meet up with an accident, couldn't you?
What do you mean?
Oh, a couple of broken legs, maybe. It could even be a fatal accident. In fact, I am willing to bet that's what it would be.
Lucky, you gotta give me time. I'll be able to pay you every cent if you'll only wait.
Wait? How long?
Well, my Uncle Jonathan has millions. I'm his only heir. If you'd just be patient...
You mean wait till the old man kicks off? He might outlive the two of us.
But if anything happens to me, you'll never get your money.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Maybe it'd be better if your uncle met up with an accident, huh?
You don't mean that...
I don't mean anything. Why don't you ask the old boy to loan you the money?
Well, I'll try, but...
That's right. You try. Try hard enough, and maybe there won't have to be any accident. Well, Mr. Willard, it was over a week ago you said you were going to ask your uncle to loan you the money. How about it?
I've begged him a dozen times to let me have the money, but he won't.
That's too bad, isn't it?
Look, Lucky, I'm going to Lake Placid for the weekend, but I'll ask him again on Monday. So if you'll only wait until then...
I've waited a long time now, Mr. Willard. From now on, I'm making no promise.
Mr. Jonathan, Briggs' residence?
Hello, Kirby. I'd like to speak to my uncle.
Oh, yes, Mr. Harry. Just a moment, sir. He's in the study. I'll put your call through to him there.
Hello?
Hello, Uncle Jonathan. This is Harry.
Oh, I thought you were up at Lake Placid.
That's where I'm calling from. I was worried about your cold.
I don't believe it. You knew very well that I'm so much better. The doctor said I could get up today.
But, Uncle, you've been in bed for the past week, and I naturally...
Yes. What you really called about was that money, wasn't it?
Well, Kirby can't hear you, can he?
What's the matter with you? You know I'm always alone in my study at this time of day.
Well, yes, Uncle Jonathan, I did want to talk to you about the money.
Well, you can save your breath. I won't give you one single solitary red cent.
But, Uncle Jonathan,
A penny, and that's final. If you...
Uncle Jonathan. Uncle Jonathan.
Yes, sir. I'm Nick Carter. This is my secretary, Miss Bowen.
How do you do?
Sergeant Matheson of the homicide squad asked me to come up here and take a look around.
Oh, yes, sir. Won't you come in?
Thank you.
The study is this way, sir.
You're Kirby, Mr. Briggs' houseman, aren't you?
Yes, sir. It was I who found the body after the accident. This is Mr. Briggs' study.
What? Why, it's like a room in a medieval castle.
That's what it is, miss. Mr. Briggs bought the entire room from the owners of McLennan Castle in Scotland and brought it over to America piece by piece.
Even the wall paneling? And that huge stained glass window across the room there?
Everything, sir.
How unusual to find a room like this in a big city apartment.
Yes, miss. The city and town photographed it last year for their October issue.
Oh, Nick. Look at this magnificent antique cabinet here by the door.
Yes, that's a highboy, miss.
And look at those old guns on the wall beside the highboy.
Mr. Briggs collected antique firearms, miss.
God.
Here is the one that caused the accident.
An old flintlock musket.
Yes, sir.
Well, it certainly is a clumsy-looking thing.
Just about as deadly at close range as a sawed-off shotgun.
Well, why do they call it a flintlock?
Now, you see, Patsy, the hammer holds this bit of flint.
Yes, I can see it.
First you have to cock it, and then when the trigger is pulled, the hammer falls, and the flint strikes against this piece of steel here and causes a spark.
Then what?
See this little hollow here?
Uh-huh.
That's called a firing pan. Holds a small amount of powder. That powder is ignited by the spark, and that sets off the real charge inside the gun barrel, causing the gun to be fired.
Well, if you have to go through all that preparation to make the gun shoot, how could it go off by accident?
That's what Matty was wondering, and that's why he asked me to take a look. Suppose you tell me just what happened, Kirby.
Well, sir, Mr. Briggs was in his study, as he always was at that time of day.
Early this afternoon, wasn't it?
Yes, sir. The clock had just struck 2:30 when Mr. Harry called from Lake Placid. He wanted to talk to his uncle, so I pushed the button for the buzzer in the study. And when I heard Mr. Briggs pick up the phone, I hung up.
How long after that did you hear the shot?
Not more than a minute or two, sir. I rushed in here and found Mr. Briggs in that chair behind the desk, dead. And the gun was lying on the floor over there.
On the floor, huh?
Yes, sir.
Kirby, are you sure there wasn't anyone else in the room with Mr. Briggs?
Well, there couldn't possibly have been, sir. As you can see, there's no place to hide in here, and there's only one door. I was right outside, and no one could have got past me.
Well, how about that stained glass window? Does it open onto a terrace?
No, miss. Outside, there's a sheer drop of 23 stories.
Oh.
And it's the only window in the room, too.
Yes.
Well, guess the next thing is to talk with Mr. Briggs' nephew.
Oh, Mr. Harry hasn't arrived home from Lake Placid yet, sir. I expect him at 10 tomorrow morning.
I see. All right, then, you can expect me at 11.
Lucky, what's the idea of phoning me here at the apartment?
That was a nice, convenient little accident your uncle had, wasn't it, Willard? Convenient for both of us.
Look, Lucky, I can't talk to you now. I just got in from Lake Placid an hour ago, and there's some people waiting for me in the study.
You called me back?
Yes, of course. Goodbye. I'm sorry to keep you waiting, Mr. Carter. I was in my workroom.
Workroom? In an apartment like this?
Well, I make a hobby of astronomy, and I have a little place fixed up where I can build my own telescope.
Sounds very technical.
Well, it is, rather. Of course, I can't grind my own lenses, but I have them made to my specifications and then do the rest of the work myself. Well, I suppose you want to know about Uncle Jonathan.
Shall I leave, sir?
No, that's all right, Kirby. Keep on with your work. Need any help with that ladder?
Oh, no, thank you, sir. I can manage. I'm all through except cleaning the stained glass window. I'll do the outside first.
The outside? My goodness, how do you get at it?
Oh, it's very simple, miss. Mr. Briggs had the window mounted on a special frame so that it swings into the room. You see?
Oh.
Very neat arrangement.
It's a beautiful window, Mr. Willard.
I've always thought so. As you can see, it represents Satan being cast out of heaven.
Well, Mr. Willard, about your uncle's accident.
I'm afraid there isn't much I can tell you. I was talking to him by a long distance when I heard the shot. And then a moment later, Kirby picked up the phone and told me what happened.
How do you think it happened?
Well, it seems pretty obvious to me. The gun fell off the wall and was discharged by the jar when it hit the floor.
You mean to say that a gun like that hung on the wall loaded?
It never was loaded, as far as I know. That's the...
You killed didn't pull his gun on you.
Jonathan, I forgot all about it. I better call him right now.
There's a phone in the living room if you want to use it.
Thanks. Better come along, Patsy, in case he wants any of those figures you have for him.
All right, Nick.
Good gracious.
Well, what's the matter, Kirby? Something wrong with the window?
Yes, Mr. Harry. Something very odd.
What is it, Kirby?
Satan's left eye.
Kirby, look out! What happened? It's Kirby.
Nick, look at the the ladder and tap out the window.
He lost his balance. I tried to grab him, but it was too late. He fell 23 stories down to the street.
From the antique stained glass window, the evil face of Satan seems to leer triumphantly down into the room where violent death has struck twice within 24 hours. We'll see what happens in just a moment. This Nick Carter, brought to you by new post-war Old Dutch Splendor. A room transplanted from a medieval Scottish castle to the tower apartment of a Manhattan skyscraper has been the scene of two apparently accidental deaths. 2 hours have passed since the second tragedy, and Nick and Patsy, on their way back to Nick's office, have stopped in front of a small shop.
I never saw this place before. Giuseppe Serino, second-hand books and magazines.
Giuseppe's quite a character. You like him.
Oh?
Ah, Nick. Come, my friend.
Hello.
Long time I no see, eh?
How are you, Giuseppe?
It's bene, grazie.
Good. This is Giuseppe Serino, Patsy. Giuseppe, Miss Bowen.
I am very happy to meet you, Senorina.
Hello, Giuseppe.
Giuseppe used to be in Vaudeville.
Oh?
See? When I am not so fat like this, we play all the big guitars. The 4 flying Sorinos. Tumbles extraordinaire.
Giuseppe, I wonder if you have a copy of City and Town for October of last year.
Sure. Back this way. We got them all.
All right. Is that the issue of City and Town that Kirby said contained a picture of the big study?
Mm-hmm. How's business, Giuseppe?
She's no good. Everybody, she's got too much money. Can afford the new magazine. No one's old magazine.
Well, if you'd like to pick up some extra cash, I've got a job for you.
Well, no, I take.
Fine.
October 1946 you are, eh?
Yes, that's right.
Here she is. Almost like a new.
That's it, Giuseppe. Thanks.
Is the picture there, Nick?
Just a minute. Okay. Here it is.
In color, too. Oh, the stained glass window certainly shows up well.
Yes, and here's what I was looking for.
What?
A gun. That 17th century flintlock. I knew it couldn't have fallen from the wall beside the highboy and landed where it did.
Why, it's on the highboy in the picture.
And I'll bet that's where it was when it killed Jonathan Briggs.
Yeah, but even if it was there, Nick, that doesn't explain how it could go off by itself.
No, you're right there. But it may prove that Willard was lying about where the gun was. And with Giuseppe's help, I may be able to learn how the second so-called accident happened.
Well, what kind of job do you like for me to do, Nick?
Something that's right in your line, Giuseppe. A little tumbling.
Oh, I'm not so sure. It's a long time now since I do very hard stunts.
Well, this one won't be hard, Giuseppe. We can do it right in my office. And it's easy. As easy as falling off a ladder.
He's a hard worker for fat men like me.
Oh, Nick. You've made him fall off that ladder a dozen times. First you have him lean to the left until he gets off his balance. Then you have him lean to the right.
Yes, and every time he and the ladder fall in opposite directions.
Huh? What do you mean?
Well, if Kirby had been leaning away from the window opening, he'd have fallen inside the room. And the ladder would have fallen across the sill the way we found it.
But Kirby didn't fall inside. He fell outside.
Then he wasn't leaning away from the opening. If he'd been leaning toward the opening, he would have fallen outside, and the ladder would have fallen inside the room.
But why?
That's what Giuseppe's been proving for me. When you fall off a ladder, your feet instinctively push it away from you in the opposite direction. But suppose it happened this way. Not hurt, are you, Giuseppe?
No. But what's the big idea? Push the ladder when I'm in no look.
Sorry, Giuseppe. I had to prove my point. You see, Patsy? When I pushed, Giuseppe and the ladder both fell in the same direction, just as Kirby and the ladder did this morning.
What? Oh. You mean you think Willard pushed Kirby out the window?
From what we've seen here, I think he did.
But this test of yours isn't proof that he killed Kirby.
No, but when you add this to the fact that he was probably lying about the gun hanging on the wall, Mr. Willard appears to Be a very suspicious character as far as I'm concerned.
But Nick Willard was in right past and he couldn't pull the trigger of the gun by...
But he could have, shall we say, made arrangements.
What kind of arrangement?
Come on, Patsy. We're going to take another look at Jonathan Briggs' study. Maybe that will answer your question. Lucky for us, the police sealed his room up right after Kirby was killed. If there's any evidence here, nobody's had a chance to destroy it.
Mm-hmm. Even the stepladder's still here.
Fortunately for us. I need that to get where I'm going.
To get where you're going?
Yep.
Where's that?
I want to take a look at the top of the highway. Ah, there.
Be careful that you don't fall, Nick.
I won't. Let's see.
What are you looking for, Nick?
Uh-huh. Just as I thought. Climb up here beside me and I'll show you.
It better be good, Nick. I don't like ladders.
It is good. See here?
Oh, what a shame. That beautiful finish is all scratched up.
Yes. That must be where the gun rested. And here's a dent in the wood paneling near where the butt of the gun must have been.
Meaning what?
When the gun went off, the recoil threw it back against the wall where the dent is.
Uh-huh.
And it bounced off the highboy onto the floor.
Uh-huh.
A gun like this would have to have quite a kick.
Well, what do you suppose those books are doing up here?
The butt of the gun were propped up on those books, and the muzzle were resting on the edge where these scratches are. Where would the gun be pointing?
What? Right at that chair where Mr. Briggs was sitting when he was shot.
Mm-hmm. You begin to see how he was killed?
Oh, yes. There was such a short distance, it couldn't have missed.
Right.
But, how was the gun set off? You still don't know that.
I think I do. See these burn places here?
Yes, they look like cigarette burns. But nobody could lay a cigarette down up here. It's too high.
Patsy, take a look at the face of Satan in the stained glass window there across the room. See anything strange about it?
No. No, it's pretty badly warped, but that's just age, isn't it?
Look at his eyes.
Why, they don't match.
Exactly.
Oh.
The right one is yellow, and the left one is white. Now, do you remember what time Mr. Briggs was killed?
About 2:30, Kirby said.
Right. And about 2:30 tomorrow, I think we can put this case in the file, marked case closed.
Why did you insist on my meeting you here in the study at this time, Mr. Carter? I had an appointment for 2 o'clock with a friend.
This is more important, Willard. Sit there behind the desk, please.
All right, but what is this all about?
Now, everything is just the way it was 2 days ago. You're sitting where your uncle was when he was shot. And the gun is back on the highboy, loaded and primed.
What?
On the highboy, Willard. Not on the wall where you said it was. And it's pointed directly at the chair where you sit.
Oh, I'm getting out of here.
Sit back in that chair.
But the gun, if it should go off.
To kill you, just as it did your uncle. But there's no flint in the hammer this time, so it can't possibly go off. Can it, Willard?
I won't stay here.
You'll stay in that chair if I have to hold you there. What time is it, Patsy?
2:29.
Carter, let me out of here. In a minute or two, it'll be too late.
You're in no danger, Willard. The gun can't go off by itself. Or can it?
For the love of heaven, look at Satan's left eye. In a few seconds.
Well, you know about that left eye. You put it there, didn't you?
Well,
And you phoned your uncle at exactly 2:31 the next day to be sure he'd be sitting in that chair at the right time, didn't you?
I don't know what you mean.
You'd better know what I mean if you want to get out of that chair, and you'd better talk fast.
Yes, I did it, but...
How about Kirby?
He noticed the eye. I had to do something quick before he had a chance to tell you.
So you pushed him through the open window.
Carter, let me out of this chair. It's after 2:30 now.
Oh, don't worry. The gun isn't loaded.
Isn't loaded?
Now that we have the truth from you, nothing's going to happen.
That's where you're wrong, my friend.
Lucky.
Things are going to happen right now. Come on, Carter. This gun of mine doesn't have to wait for the sun.
Lucky Bristol stands in the doorway, his revolver aimed at Nick, and it looks as though Jonathan Briggs' study may be the scene of still another killing. We'll see what happens in just a moment. Now for the conclusion of the case of the Devil's Left Eye. Today's adventure with Nick Carter, brought to you by new post-war Old Dutch Cleanser. Harry Willard has confessed to the murder of his uncle, Jonathan Briggs. But before Nick can take him to the police, Lucky Bristol, the gambler, appears in the doorway, a revolver in his hand.
Well, well. Lucky Bristol. How do you fit into this picture, Lucky?
I'm just protecting a little investment of mine, Mr. Carter. Mr. Willard here owes me $100,000.
$100,000? It's only $50,000.
It's $100,000 now, Mr. Willard. Or do you want me to tell Mr. Carter he can put his hands down?
No, 100's all right.
And cheap at half the price. When you didn't show up at my place at 2 o'clock, I came up here to see why.
Well, you found out. Now what?
Now nothing. I'm leaving.
Well, what about them? They know about Uncle Jonathan.
Well, if I were you, I'd make sure they didn't tell anybody.
You mean I've got to...
I don't know what you're going to do. I won't be here. But before I go, you better get Carter's gun to do it with.
Yes, of course.
Don't try anything, Carter. I'm still protecting my investment.
Don't worry. I know when I'm licked.
Okay, Lucky. I got Carter's gun.
Okay. I'll send a couple of my boys around late tonight in case there's anything you want carried out of the building and left someplace. So long.
You're going to let this man make a fool of you, Willard?
What do you mean?
You think we've got to be killed to protect your secret, don't you?
Well, of course.
How about Lucky?
I don't kill you.
How about Lucky? You're going to let him walk out of here knowing enough about you to send you to the chair?
Smart guy, aren't you, Carter?
Yes, he is smart, Lucky. I never thought of that.
Why, you poor sap.
Keep your hands away from your pocket, Lucky.
You cheap little punk. If you think you can get away with anything like this.
Stop, Patsy. I told you I'd get you.
Oh, nice work, Nick. Let them shoot it out with each other, then you shoot the winner's gun out of his hand.
Where'd you get that gun, Carter? I thought it
Didn't occur to Willard that the gun he took wasn't the only one I had. I carried this one in the shoulder holster for just such emergencies.
You're a lucky stiff, Carter.
I may be lucky, but I'm no stiff. All right, Willard. You can get up off the floor now.
I'm sorry, Carter. Hurts bad.
You live. It's only your shoulder.
Take your gun back, Nick. Willard is all through with it.
Thanks, Patsy. Better call the police ambulance for Willard. And tell Matty to send along the hurry-up wagon for his pal.
Right away, Nick.
They may ride down to headquarters separately, but they'll end up in the same place when they answer for their crimes.
Nick, when are you going to explain what's been going on? I don't understand it at all.
I didn't want to try to explain until I could show you a little experiment.
Huh?
Patsy, when you were a little girl, didn't you ever set a piece of paper on fire by focusing the sun's rays on it with a magnifying glass?
Sure, all kids do that. So what?
So you can set off gunpowder the same way. And that's just what Willard did.
Go on, I'm listening.
Willard replaced Satan's left eye in the stained glass window with a special lens he'd had made. A lens that would focus the sun's rays right on the powder in the firing pan of the old flintlock.
And he fired the gun that way? Well, I'll be darned.
With the charged spots on the top of the highboy that gave him away. You see, he had to experiment for several days at the same time in the afternoon to be sure that he had the lens set in the window at exactly the right angle.
Golly, that must have been pretty complicated. Figuring the angle of the sun, the right kind of lens, the right time of day, and everything.
It was, even for an amateur astronomer like Willard. But fortunately, his uncle was sick in bed for a week, and Willard was able to use the study undisturbed.
So he was able to set the gun, go to Lake Placid 300 miles away, and then call his uncle on the phone at just the right time so he'd be sitting at his desk when the gun went off.
Right. Now you know as much about it as I do.
Oh, well, I knew Satan was dangerous, and I've heard of the evil eye. But I never expected to see a stained glass Satan with an eye evil enough to kill a man. Oh, that's really something.
This I believe. Hugh Lyon was for 17 years headmaster of rugby. Since his retirement from that post in 1948, he has continued his interest in education through a number of activities. Here now is the creed of Hugh Lyon.
I believe that this world must ultimately make sense, that it is not just a casual jumble of beauty, ugliness, pleasure, and pain, but the expression of an unchanging purpose, which I suppose is another way of saying that I believe in God. This is not always easy, but is it any more difficult than the alternative philosophies, which deny God and yet cling to a conviction that life has some meaning? To me, there is no sure resting place anywhere between the certainty of God and the abyss of atheism, which is the denial of meaning, the despairing acceptance of fate, the resignation which dismisses life as a piece of nonsense. No, life has sense, and God has his purposes, and purpose implies personality. Man has been accused of making God in his own image. Yet who has implanted in man his impulses of heroism, of sympathy, of love, if not his Creator, who must, by definition, have these qualities to a degree far beyond our understanding? I believe that if I, at my rare best, can be good and loving, then God must be perfect good and perfect love, love at the heart of all sorrow and of all tragedy, and good beyond all man's cunning and beastliness, his selfish, bitter misuse of life. We who have been brought up as Christians have learnt to see in Christ the interpretation of God in human terms. When we were young, we took this for granted. When we encountered doubt, when we thought we discovered inconsistency, above all when we first came into personal contact with bereavement and death, most of us were for a time bewildered and astray, and many still are. Yet if our anchor holds, we can ride out the storms, the anchor not of blind acceptance or wishful thinking, but of belief in God as revealed in Christ, as the only conception which makes sense of human life. That for me is enough to inspire me to try and live decently, enough to give comfort in distress, and assurance of forgiveness and renewal when I have sinned. I am not particularly interested at this stage in what comes after, in the various pictures of eternity which many Christian teachers paint for us. I accept my limitations. I realize that I see only a minute part of the whole, and that only for an instant of time. Faith, after all, means trust as well as belief, and I trust God. And if I believe in God, I believe also in man, man with all his potentialities, the lovely innocence of children, the sensitive perception of artist and poet, the fine mind of philosopher and scientist, the strong natural emotions of love and friendship. Above all, man with his tiny share of God's goodness, what Paul calls his earnest or token of the Holy Spirit. Man at his best is what all men could always be, and man at his best is not a product of chance, nor a victim of blind fate. He is a child of God.
That was Hugh Lyon, a British educator whose beliefs and faith in the potentialities of people have inspired scores of young minds at the famous Rugby School.
Tonight, Night Beat returns to the air for a special broadcast honoring the men and women of the working press, who day in and day out find and write the newspaper stories that keep us informed and entertained. And so, to them, this special Night Beat salute.
Hi, this is Randy Stone. I cover the Night Beat for the Chicago Star. Stories start in many different ways. This one began in a nightclub with jazz music and laughter, and ended in a church with organ music and death.
Night Beat, starring Frank Lovejoy as Randy Stone.
On my job, you sort of come to terms with the night. You have to, because that's where you learn the lessons of the day. Lesson 1, the night is for sorrow, the day, regret. Lesson 2, you can't hide in the darkness, for the night has 1,000 eyes. Lesson 3 to 100, don't go looking for the dawn with a gun, because it might come up like thunder and leave you dead on the doorstep. Sob stories fill the night. Unhappy love affairs, girls gone astray, bookkeepers who stole from their tills, men who died drunk and friendless. Last night I decided to pass them up and stroll under the bright lights and listen to laughter. So I picked out a couple of fancy bistros on the Gold Coast and started the rounds to watch champagne flow and eavesdrop on the happy stories of success, promotion, love, and friendship. But it didn't work. Like an iron filing, I was drawn to the magnet of unhappiness. It happened in the Pelican Club. He was sitting alone, tall, gray-haired, rugged, and face full of some 50-odd years, I guess, and full of some other things no one could guess. There were 3 drinks at the bar before I made out who he was. A man who was once big in a way that only prohibition made them big. Mind if I sit down?
Who are you?
Randy Stone, Chicago Star, Mr. McMasters.
Well, you're the first one.
What first one?
Who's recognized me?
Oh. Well, only from your pictures. It was a long time ago.
Time? I know more about time than you or that old guy they always have around on New Year's with the beard and the hay cut in.
I just thought there might be a story somewhere.
Sure. Sit down. I'll tell you a story. Once upon a time, there was a guy who had everything. Money, friends, a future. And a bunch of old women made a law called the Volstead Act. You remember it?
Yeah, but I wasn't thirsty at the time.
Well, a lot of people were. Everybody, in fact. You see, the law was always supposed to be for the other guy, not for them. But there were no other guys. So this fella I'm telling you about got on the bandwagon. He bottled millions of violations of the Volstead Act, made a lot of money, and a lot of trouble. Am I boring you?
If you are, I asked for it, but you're not.
Well, the trouble got him a lot of jail. 19 years of it. Started in 1931, ended just 2 days ago.
I see.
Now this guy's out, and he's going to stay clean. And they can pass 1,000 stupid laws, and he's not going to fall for any of them. He's going to do everything the way it says in the books and live happily ever after. How's that for a story?
There's a good moral, but no drama, no suspense.
Good. I hope it's real bad, because I don't want you to print it. Stone, I'm flattered that you recognize me, but I paid back 10 days for every one I took. All I ask is that you just let me alone in the papers.
Okay, McMasters. As far as I'm concerned, you made your last copy in 1931.
Stone, it's nice to come out of prison and have the first guy you meet turn out like you. Let me buy you a drink.
He tried to be happy and gay after that, and I tried to help him. But there was a sadness about him that stood in the way. I wanted to ask more questions about times and places, but I didn't. Why is it when you come across the best stories, you fall all over your conscience? I know I couldn't print anything about John McMasters, yet I was still thinking about him an hour later at police headquarters while batting the breeze with Lieutenant Curly White. The lieutenant was on his way out to cover a hotel shooting, and I went with him. It was a showy place with glass doors and ebony handrails. The night manager was staining his alpaca jacket with nervous sweat.
Please be as quiet as possible. I don't want it to sound like an Elks convention in here.
Just tell us what happened. We'll pussyfoot throughout this.
I don't know where to begin exactly. Somebody phoned down. It happened on the 5th floor. Said there was a shooting, so I went up there, but I couldn't hear any shooting or see any.
You really can after it's over.
That's rather obvious. What I meant
Just tell us, was there a shooting or wasn't there?
Well, did you think I'd call you men all the way out here if there wasn't? You think I'm a crank or something? That I like to have loud policemen stamping through the lobby excitement?
Where was it?
Where was what?
Look, I'm going to ask you a question. I want you to answer in a single declarative English sentence. Now, you ready?
Now, look here, I'm not a child, and you mustn't treat me like one.
Where
Was for shooting.
In room 521.
All right. Come on, man.
Don't you want to know who it was?
Who?
A man named John McMasters.
We found McMasters lying on his bed. The rumpled silk counterpane was slowly changing from chartreuse to a bright crimson. 2 bullets had ripped ragged holes in him through flesh and bone. His face was a shade paler and a line sadder. But when Lieutenant White questioned him, he was just as self-contained as ever. Hello, John. A long time.
Yeah, Curly. You were just a flatfoot then.
I was only the small fry department. You were strictly stuck with the commissioner.
He did a good job.
Yeah. How'd it happen, John?
This? Cleaning my gun.
You lose it, John. You're not supposed to have a gun.
Oh, you know me in the law, Curly. We sometimes didn't hit it off.
Where is the gun?
I swallowed it.
You don't want to say, huh?
No, I don't want to say.
Yeah, I don't know what makes you guys like you are, but I know it won't do any good to try and beat it out of you. Hey, Doc.
Yeah?
Get the ambulance ready. We'll take him to the police hospital.
No, you don't, Lieutenant. I've served my time and I'm clean. Being shot at even in this state doesn't make you a criminal. Now take me to a general hospital.
John, I can get a warrant.
When you get it, come and see me. Bring me some ice cream, Lieutenant. I've always liked ice cream. English coffee, huh?
I didn't have a chance to exchange a word with McMasters, so I followed him to the hospital. They put him in a room. While I was waiting for them to set up an emergency operation to take the bullets out of him, Lieutenant White let me slip in alone for a couple of minutes.
Well, Scribe, you got yourself a story after all, didn't you?
Well, not much of one, McMasters. A good reporter should find out a lot more, like who shot you and why.
Oh. Well, I shot myself. And just for something to do.
Look, McMasters, I'm not as old as you or as informed in the ways of crime, but I have a fair idea of how tough it is to come out of prison and start all over. I want you to know I'd be willing to help you if there's any place that you need help within the law.
Just to get a story?
I have a job that says I'm supposed to bring in stories, sure, but that isn't what I mean.
Stone, it's just the way I said earlier tonight. It's a pleasure to meet someone like you. And if there was anything I could tell you or any way you could help me, you'd be the first to know. Let's put it this way. I have nothing to say to you now. Come and see me tomorrow. Maybe I'll have a story for you today.
McMasters was a riddle. His way of life, his long prison term, had equipped him with a certain stoicism that was almost impossible to penetrate. I could only stand and wait, at least I thought so at the moment. Lieutenant White was standing in the corridor when I came out.
Find out anything, Randy?
Nothing, Curly.
Now, look, Randy, you're not pulling professional immunity on me, are you?
I'm telling you the truth, Lieutenant.
Hey, do me a favor. Hold my badge and my ID card.
Now, what's this for?
Well, I'm carrying those. I'm a policeman. When I don't have them, I'm just a citizen. Now, this isn't for print, but in that room, on that bed, there lies quite a man.
You couldn't fight it. Everyone who had contact with John McMasters felt the same way. Despite his background, despite his code, despite his record, there was quite a man. It occurred to me I should know more about him, so I went back to the Star offices and poked around in the morgue file. Its folder started 1912 and was fat with yellowed clippings all the way through 1931. The clippings didn't mention a family or much else except a lawyer associate, a man named Julian Glass. When I found out all I could from the clippings, I went back to his hotel to see if I could wangle another once-over of McMasters' room.
No, I'm sorry. Reporter or not, it simply can't be done. The police left explicit orders.
Yes, I know, but is there anything you need these days, like a new sport coat or a couple of golf clubs?
Mr. Stone, do I look corruptible?
Well...
Excuse me. Yes, madam, what did you want?
Mr. McMasters' room, please.
Oh, well, I'm sorry. Mr. McMasters was taken to the hospital shortly ago.
What happened to him?
Somebody shot him.
He's still alive?
I wouldn't know. Why don't you call...
Oh, pardon me, ma'am. I can tell you about John McMasters.
Who are you?
Mr. Stone is a reporter.
He's still alive at the county hospital, and as far as I know, he's under excellent care.
Thank you.
Would you mind telling me what your connection is with McMasters?
I have no connection. Goodbye.
Oh, just a minute. You must at least know him.
Young man, you either get out of my way or I'll call a policeman.
And she could do it, so I stepped aside and let her walk out of the hotel, but I followed not far behind her. She was middle-aged, gray-haired, and well-dressed, and she got into a good-looking car, and I got her number. Then I called one.
Lieutenant White.
Randy Stone, Lieutenant. Can you give me a rundown on the license number?
Oh, no, not at this hour. The files are all locked.
But you know where the key is. How about it?
Oh, what's it for? Can't it go until tomorrow?
It's for a story I'm working on. If you help me tonight, maybe I'll help you someday.
What would your reporters do without us? All right, give it to me.
It's Illinois 137596.
Illinois 137596. All right. Call back later, Stone.
I knew it would take some time for White to run it down, so I made my way back to County Hospital for a checkup on McMaster's condition. The reception desk seemed reluctant to talk about him and referred me to the head nurse, who sent me to the surgical OD, who took me to the chief doctor. He told me to look into a crystal ball.
He's gone. We have no idea where.
How could he be gone?
Well, we started to give him a transfusion. He jumped up suddenly, knocked down 2 male nurses, grabbed his pants, and ran out of the hospital. Simple as that.
I thought he was in a critical condition.
He was. Now he's in mortal danger. Running around town, hemorrhaging from 2 bullet wounds. Well, I'd give him an hour, maybe 2 at the most, to live. John McMasters is a walking dead man.
NBC is bringing you Night Beat, starring Frank Lovejoy as Randy Stone.
Take it from me, cats aren't the only animals who have a corner on curiosity. Consider also the species Randostonus, reporter-type animal. The test? When the next big shot of the Roaring 20s, minus a quart or 2 of blood from bullet wounds, walks out of a hospital bed in the middle of the night, reporter walks too. Well, call it curiosity or just say I liked what I'd seen of the guy. All I know is I didn't want Big John McMasters to bleed to death walking around town, so I went out looking for him. And because I thought he might go to a friend's, I looked up his only known friend, another man of the same period, Julian Glass, attorney at law. He lived not in a glass house, but in Cicero, in the crummier half of a yellow duplex.
Young man, the drugstore delivers what I need most. The telegraph office, what I dread most. Obviously, you represent neither concern, and therefore you are no concern of mine.
Now, wait a minute. Are you Mr. Glass?
I am he, and I am drunk and disheveled, and it's 3 o'clock in the morning.
I'd like to talk with you. May I come in?
You may not.
This isn't exactly the hour for making calls, but I did stop by and pick up something to take the edge off.
Eh?
It's bonded.
Oh, inside.
Oh, thank you.
Your apology.
There you are, Mr. Glass.
Ah. Now then, we'll make a bargain. As long as this lasts, you will last. Speak.
I'm looking for a man.
The entire world is looking for a man. Just one man. A man they so blindly presume who will break off these shackles that bind us and lead us forth into eternal justice.
Yes, sure, but that's not the man I'm talking about. I'm a friend of John McMasters.
You? You come from that place? Silence are not on you. The pallor's not with you? No. Oh, you lied.
I didn't say that I was a convict. I'm a reporter. McMasters is out of prison.
I'm aware of that.
But did you know he was in an accident tonight, or he was attacked? I don't know which. Anyhow, he was shot, and an hour ago he left his hospital bed. I thought he might have come to you.
What made you think that?
You're the only man I know who might be his friend. Has he contacted you tonight?
He has not.
Is he here?
He is not.
Mr. Glass, if he isn't hospitalized soon, he'll die.
Why is the phenomenon of death so persistently alarming? So you die. They all die, usually from a bullet.
Well, Mr. Glass...
You've impressed me with the urgency of his situation. But John McMasters is not here, nor has he been here, nor has he contacted me.
Well, I was just trying. I believe you.
Your concern for him is a distressing irritation. What's the reason for it?
As I said, I'm his friend. I like him. I think he deserves to live.
You? His friend? No. His friends, for the most part, are gone like the years. Like Homburg hats and the Charleston and Lime Ricky. Ones who are left are broken and tired with old faces. Faces like mine, like his. And they should be gone, too. Another age is here.
Are you sure you're his friend?
I once thought so. He once thought so. But now, I haven't enough strength to be his friend.
Oh, Mr. Glass,
Hello, people. Who's your friend, Julie?
Mr. Glass to you.
All right, Mr. Glass. Now tell me, who's this?
This is Mr. Stone. Mr. Stone, this is Mr. Engel, Marty Engel.
I'm an associate of Mr. Glass's. Mr. Stone, I haven't seen you around before. Obviously, you just met Mr. Glass. Or you'd never offer him a drink.
I wouldn't?
No. You see, I sort of look after Mr. Glass. We're old friends. I was his office boy once, then a No Republic. And when I finally got my degree, I became his partner. More or less. Isn't that right, Mr. Glass?
Marty, you don't have to do this in front of Mr.
And
Stone.
since Mr. Glass has fallen on some bitter days, shall we say I've undertook to assist him. Perhaps I can help you?
I don't think so, Mr. Engel.
Then would you be good enough to leave?
Marty.
Shut up. Mr. Glass, give Mr. Stone his bottle. Go ahead. Here. There you are, Mr. Stone. You were just leaving, weren't you?
Julian Glass stood helplessly by watching. The look in his eyes held the same sort of sadness I'd seen in McMasters' eyes. But they were different, too. They held a weakness. The strong, sad eyes were somewhere else in the city, walking alone. And the lifeblood was slowly draining from the body that sparked them. I wanted to find McMasters more than I wanted anything in my life, so I went to the only other source I knew, the license number that belonged to a gray-haired woman with a kind face. Lieutenant White had done his duty.
Randy, I shouldn't do this sort of thing.
Now, come on. Tell me about the license number.
Pleasure plates. Car owned by a pony named Constance Gardner, age 22 this city.
Address?
Lives in the 900 block at Sheridan Road.
What number?
Look it up yourself. I did what I'm not supposed to do already.
I drove out there with a feeling that I was racing death. I was in the 900 block, right in back of the Shawnee County Club, a nice big colonial house in a nice neighborhood. The sky was beginning to quiver and shake off the blackness of night. I parked in front, wondering whether or not I should ring the bell, and then I saw a light in the back, at the kitchen. Everybody seemed to be staying up that night.
Oh, come in. You must be the man from the floor.
No, I'm afraid not. My name is Randy Stone. I'm from the Chicago Star.
Oh, you reporters do work all hours. But we aren't being married until 7.
Are you Constance Gardner?
Yes, but you want to talk to Bob, not me. He's the one who's rich and famous. I'm nobody.
I think I want to talk to you, Miss Gardner.
Well, all right, Mr. Stone, but I have so many things to do this...
Hello, Blythe. Say good morning to your bride.
Bob, you shouldn't be here. It's bad luck or something. Oh, Mr. Stone, this is my fiancé, Bob Meredith. Bob, Mr. Stone's from the papers.
Hi. Mr. Stone, I want to interview you. Now, looking at her, wouldn't you say I'm the luckiest man in the world?
I'm glad to meet you, Meredith, and congratulations.
Thanks.
Constance, you simply must hurry. Why, Bob, what are you doing here? You know it's not right.
Mother, I want you to meet Mr. Stone. He's a reporter. Mr. Stone, this is my mother, Mrs. Gardner.
How do you do, Mr. Stone?
It was the same gray-haired woman I'd met in the hotel a few hours before, and I had to hand it to her. She looked right at me like she was meeting me for the first time. We shook hands. Hers was steady and firm, and her eyes didn't leave mine, but there was something in her look that pleaded, don't.
Mr. Stone, perhaps Mother can help you. Excuse us, please.
Sure.
I'll have to get rid of Bob and get some things done.
Right, of course. So that's my cue. So long, Mr. Stone. Gonna cover this wedding?
Well, if I don't, one of the other boys will. Nice to meet you.
Bye.
They look like a real nice pair of kids, Mrs. Gardner.
They are. But I doubt if that means anything to you and your newspaper.
Well, you were trying to reach John McMasters at his hotel tonight. You obviously have some connection with him. I don't care about that or the story that goes with it, Mrs. Gardner. I'm only looking for him. Is he here?
Of course not. He's in a hospital. You told me that yourself.
Well, he left the hospital. He walked out. He's wandering Chicago somewhere right now in a serious condition.
Oh, no.
He must have had a good reason for doing such a thing. I want to find him and take him back to the hospital. Now, Mrs. Gardner, if you know where he is or what he's doing, tell me. I only want to help. Please, he may be dying.
I believe you, Mr. Stone.
You have any idea where he could be?
There's something you should know. Something that shouldn't be written in the papers. Please. That lovely girl who just walked out of this room is John McMasters' daughter. In 1931, I adopted her and raised her as my own. No one knew about it. John promised he would never write us or bother us in any way, and he's kept his word.
But you were trying to see him tonight. Why?
2 days before he was released, a man came here. He said he knew Constance was not my real daughter. He said he wanted money to keep it quiet. He'd expose her.
Did you pay this man off?
No, I contacted John and told him. He said not to worry, that he'd take care of it.
He got shot tonight trying to take care of it, and he's out right now still taking care of it. Who was the man?
Oh, I don't know, Mr. Stone. I never saw him before. He just said that John would know who he was.
Oh? Was he big, tall, short?
Oh, he'd been drinking heavily. It seemed cultured.
Julian Glass. A lawyer. He'd know about the trust fund and the adoption. He probably handled it all. Julian Glass was a drunkard, true, but he didn't strike me as a blackmailer. I was thinking of his friend, Marty Engle, as I drove out to Cicero as fast as I could. 3 squad cars were already there, and then I noticed with a sinking heart that a hearse was also there. I was too late. A milkman filled in the details.
It was awful. It happened so fast.
Suppose you tell it fast.
I'm delivering my milk when I see this tall guy with the gray hair come staggering up to the steps, sort of pale. He pounds on this door here.
Mr. Glasses?
That's right. A young guy with a briefcase opens the door. The police say his name is Marty Engle.
Yeah, go on.
The young guy, sort of wise-like, says, "Hello, you come to pay off, huh?" And the big guy says, "Yeah, Marty." And he opens up and Engle goes down. But he ain't dead yet. And then Julian Glass reels into the picture, and he falls in front of Engle's gun, just as he points it at the other guy. Glass stops 2 slugs, and he goes down.
Then what?
And the big guy finishes off Engle. Then he goes over and looks at Glass. He sort of sighs, maybe a tear, and then he walks out.
You try to stop him?
You think I'm nuts? With 2 guys dead already? It was terrible. Terrible. I need myself a drink. That's what I need. I need myself a drink. And I don't mean milk.
It was pretty obvious that Julian Glass did have the strength to be John McMasters' friend after all. He died for him. The police had already thrown a cordon around the neighborhood for the man 3 witnesses had described as the killer of Marty Engle. As for me, I got out of talking distance right away. It was easy to see it had taken McMasters half the night and most of his strength to get to Marty Engle, but I was certain he still had some strength left. The sun was up by the time I drove out past Evanston, around the lake, into Wilmette, and stopped at St. Vincent's Church. The ceremony was just about over. I stood in the back as Constance Gardner and Robert Meredith were made man and wife.
In the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Ghost, I now pronounce you man and wife.
They turned around and started down the aisle. That was when I noticed the tall, gray-haired man leaning quietly against the door.
Hello, Stone. What are you doing here?
Covering your daughter's wedding, McMasters.
I knew you were a smart guy and that you'd find out about everything.
They don't like murder in this state, no matter what the reason.
Marty Engle was trying to buy that kid of mine out of her life. He found out who she was when he worked with Julie Glass. I had to stop him. Poor Julie. He did all he could, but...
I'd better get you to a hospital.
No, I want to... Stone, hold me up. Don't let me fall right here and ruin a wedding.
Thank you.
Hold me up, please.
Sure.
Oh, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Oh, Bob, there's Mr. Stone.
Oh, yes. Hello, Stone. Thanks for covering it yourself.
You can tell all of your readers I'm the happiest bride in the world. And quote me, please.
I'll do that.
Oh, Mr. Stone, do I know your friend? He seems familiar.
No, you didn't know me at all. I'm sort of an associate of Mr. Stone's. I was glad I could be at your wedding.
Oh, I'm glad, too.
Hey, we gotta go now. Bye, Mr. Stone. Bye.
Well, I told you you'd have a story this morning, Randy. You're going to print it?
Nope.
Thanks, Stone. Like I said, you're the kind of a guy I'm glad to meet.
Big John McMasters died in a taxicab on the way to the hospital. And there's no maybe about whether it was better that way or not. So I'm writing a story. It's all about laws that made criminals and laws that made them not criminals. It's kind of a wandering piece of copy that doesn't really get anywhere and never really solves anything. But it doesn't mention any names because I don't think that'd solve anything either. Maybe Julian Glass was right when he said, they're all gone now, and the ones who are left are broken and tired with old faces, and they should be gone, too. I wonder what he'd have to say now that he's gone with them. Copy, boy.
Night Beat, starring Frank Lovejoy, is produced and directed by Warren Lewis. Tonight's story was written by John Michael Hayes and E. Jack Newman, with music by Frank Worth. John McMasters was played by Bill Conrad. Frank Lovejoy may soon be seen in Warner Brothers' I Was a Communist for the FBI. And now, here again is our star, Frank Lovejoy.
Someone once said, a guy meets so many interesting people in the newspaper business, and somehow they all turn out to be newspapermen. Well, in portraying a reporter on Night Beat, I've met my share of the press, and I'd like to double that quotation in spades. Tonight, I want to congratulate the new president of the National Press Club, Carson F. Lyman, and salute Frank Rogers, Washington correspondent of the Los Angeles Daily News, who was elected secretary of that organization. They're a great bunch of folks, these guys and gals of the working press, and I'm proud to be permitted to portray one of them. Good night.
Night Beat came to you from Hollywood. In 30 seconds, hear Marlene Dietrich in A Foreign Affair on NBC.
This, I believe. During the late 1930s in Germany, Dr. Hugo Gabriel, who had written a play condemning religious persecution, was warned by a friend that the Nazis had marked him for destruction. At first he despaired, but then, following the commands of an inner voice, he wrote to President Roosevelt, begging for help. The letter was answered, and Hugo Gabriel was admitted to the United States, where he has become a devoted and productive citizen. This is his creed.
Many people believe that whereas it is exceedingly difficult to find an absolutely valid, rational answer to our perennial question as to the why and wherefore of this world, the quest for truth should be abandoned altogether as a foolish whim leading us nowhere. And since these doubters believe that no mortal man can ever fathom the ultimate meaning of the universe, they argue they don't care either whether their own lives have meaning or not. I believe that in such a situation of apparent weightlessness, in which the searching mind may find itself, one should arrive exactly at the opposite conclusion. By this I mean that for the sake of my human dignity, I am all the more under the solemn obligation to carve out meaning for my own life. I must contribute my very personal share to the sum total of meaning in this world, as mysterious as this world may ever be. I cannot merely sit smugly in the seat of the scornful and apply my critical faculties just to find out that this world is no good, and that therefore I don't care, basically, what happens to the world, to my fellow men, and to my own life. Rather must I be an active creator. And in this endeavor I cannot depend on the actions of others first, not even on those of God, the ultimate creator. If this world morally and religiously so often seems to be such a dark, inescapable and horrid jungle, I must ask myself, what have I done to make it a worthier place to live in? If there is misery, what have I done to reduce misery? If there is hunger, what have I done to still hunger? If there are tears, what have I done to quench tears? If there is suffering of innocent hearts, what have I done to transform their suffering into joy and beauty? If there is misunderstanding, hatred, strife and warfare, what have I done to transform these into understanding and goodwill, into peace and love? What have I accomplished to bring God nearer to this godless world of ours, where evil still so frequently triumphs over good, where senselessness still so frequently triumphs over meaningfulness? I believe psychological and practical experience alike teaches us that men of great faith, of indomitable conviction, of a heroic belief in the meaningfulness of life, as a rule accomplish deeds and works of a higher and more lasting value than the skeptic, the sophisticated nihilist. Creative life simply does not seem possible without a mighty current of faith and vision. This I believe, therefore, that I must contribute my creative share. I must work and strive while the day gives me a chance. When the night comes, my chance to contribute to meaning is gone. Here, too, I must realize that our earthly span is all too short. Now is the acceptable time in the fight for meaning. I do not come this earthly trail through time and space twice. I may not wait.
That was Dr. Hugo Gabriel, a German refugee scholar and teacher who now makes his home in Redondo Beach, California.
Portions of the following program are transcribed. Broadcasting Company presents Dick Powell as Richard Diamond, private detective.
Roberts.
Hello, Walt.
Hi, Rick.
They show?
Not yet. Fisher's covering the service entrance.
We'll go in. Hunt the horn if you spot anything.
Right. We'll get out here, Otis. Get the car out of sight.
Like old times, Rick.
Yeah, but I don't miss them. Somebody always gets shot up.
Here's another exciting half hour with Richard Diamond, private detective, starring Dick Powell.
Hey, you, hold it. There you are, sir. Candid snapshot of yourself strolling down the Great White Way.
Look, thanks, Bud. but
just sending this card with your name and address.
Look, friend, thank you.
Mr. Diamond, please. You don't know me, but I know you. You used to be a cop. I done time. That's how I know, see?
Okay.
Heard you was a private cop now. Came to your office to see you, but I was too early.
Now, look, what is this?
Please, you gotta take this card. I think I'm being tailed.
Little men with the nasty old sledgehammers?
I'll call you later. Take the card.
I told you
Take the card. Here, take it. Phone you later.
Diamond Detective Agency. Mary had a little lamb. She hit it with a stick. She could have gotten 20 years. Instead, she came to Rick.
Oh, are you really that good?
Well, I got the inside on who knocked off Cock Robin.
Well, good for you.
Hi, Helen.
Hi. Did you just get in?
Yeah.
Kind of late, isn't it?
Oh, well, I don't know.
Work late on a case?
Half a case.
Alone?
The funniest thing happened to me on the way to the office.
Alone?
No, I was leading patrol number 3 of the Brownies.
I mean last night. Were you alone?
Don't you want to hear what happened to me on the way to the office?
I want to hear what happened to you last night.
Oh, now relax, honey. I was with Walt.
Honest?
Honest. We played poker. If you don't believe me, stop in at the 5th precinct. Walt hired a voodoo witch doctor to shrink his head back to normal.
Well, all right. Now what happened to you on the way to the office?
Oh. Well, the darndest thing. Some little guy comes out of the crowd and snaps my picture.
Snaps your picture?
Yeah, you know, one of those sidewalk photographers. Then he creeps up to me and gives me a card like he was passing a pound of radium and tells me to hang on to it until he calls. Said he was being tailed.
Well, who was he?
Who knows? He knew me all right.
Well, what's on the card?
Oh, nothing much. Got it right here. Just a place for your name and address.
Were you supposed to send it in and get your picture back?
That's right. Hey, wait a minute.
What's the matter?
Well, there's something stuck in the middle of the card. Didn't see it before.
Well, Rick, hurry up. Find out what it is.
Oh. Hey.
Well, stop with the mystery. What is it?
Oh, it's a negative. Small negative.
Oh, we couldn't have developed your picture that quickly.
No, it's too small to make out what it is.
Hold it up to the light.
Honey, I am. Just looks like a bunch of people on the street.
Oh, why don't you have a print made of it?
I got a better idea. Why don't you hang up the little old phone and give my friend, the frightened photographer, a chance to call? I'll call you later.
Brute.
That's later, dear. Bye. Well, that's the way it started. I hung up the phone, turned around in my chair, and held the negative up to the light again. Couldn't see a thing that made it unusual. The more I tried to figure it out, the less sense it made. My better judgment started chuckling, but somewhere down in the middle of my stomach, a little alarm started ringing. I had that lousy feeling again, and no matter how hard I tried to talk myself out of it, I knew something was wrong. That little alarm kept sounding off, and believe me, I felt pretty foolish when I realized it was a phone. Yeah?
Mr. Diamond?
Oh. Been taking any more pictures?
How'd you know it was me?
Scientific police methods. Hunch, and I recognize your voice.
Find the negative in the card?
Yeah. What does it mean?
Don't want to talk over the phone. Come to 222 Bleecker Street, apartment H.
You want me to bring the negative?
No. Hide it. If they stop you, you don't want to have it on you.
If who stops me?
They'll kill you, sure, if they find it on you.
Well, one thing was certain. The little photographer sure knew how to get me interested. I started out of the office when I remembered he'd said to hide the negative. So, loving a good melodrama, and being the type who sits home Sundays to listen to Sam Spade, I found a piece of adhesive tape, put the negative back in the card, pulled out a desk drawer, and stuck the negative on the bottom of the drawer. Then I closed the drawer and headed for Bleecker Street, apartment H. I waited a few seconds and then gave it another try.
Yeah?
I'm looking for the guy who lives here.
Oh, you are, huh?
Yeah, short little guy, takes pictures.
He does, huh?
Well, your name's Einstein, isn't it?
Nah.
Look, I just want to see the little guy who lives here.
Louie!
Hi, I found some knishes in the icebox.
Oh, that's swell. There's somebody out here wants to see George.
Some liverweights, too. Huh?
Somebody wants to see George.
Oh. Well, maybe it's the guy he called. Hiya. You want to see George, huh?
I want to see the guy who called me. If his name's George, swell.
Shall I let him in?
Yeah.
Come in.
Thanks, Toto.
His name's Tony.
You called me Einstein before.
Funny. George is in the other room, right over there.
Thanks.
I seen you before.
Goody.
Used to be a cop.
Yeah?
Private eye now.
Hey, what the...
That's George. See the one you want?
Name's Diamond, ain't it?
Look, dreamy. Is he sleeping one off?
No, he's dead.
Who killed him?
I did?
I helped.
Okay, you helped. I wouldn't, Chalmers.
Yeah, I got a rod in my pocket. Had it on you all the time. Pretty good, huh?
He sees a lot of movies. I'll just take your gun, Chalmers.
Be careful with the holster. I knitted it myself.
Funny. You hungry, Chalmers?
Not a bit.
You, Tony?
Oh, I'm starved.
Put him to sleep while we have lunch, huh?
Certainly.
Hey, now...
Louie. Huh? Let's heat them knishes. I like them that way.
Yeah. I hope they're potato.
While the Rover boys loaded up on liverwurst and knishes, I slept it off. The one with a pug nose and a steel wool complexion, called Tony, had tapped me right behind the ear with his gun, and it took me a pint of blood and 15 minutes to find my way back. When I finally rolled myself into a sitting position, I lifted my sore skull and looked up at my two lovely playmates.
Hey, Tony.
Uh-huh.
You got liver waste on your chin.
Oh, thank you, Louie.
Oh, how you feel, Shamus?
Like a lark.
He is funny, you know. We want the negative, Shamus.
I don't know what you're talking about.
While you was napping, we thought of join the part. It ain't here.
It ain't?
Nah. So we figure, seeing as how George called you, maybe you know something about it.
How'd you know George called me?
Oh, we heard him just as he was hanging up. He went for a gun, so we knocked him off. Where's the negative?
I don't know.
Maybe he's got it on him, Louie. Find out, huh? All still, Shamus. Here's his wallet, Catch. No, nothing else. Nothing much in the wallet. Hey, here's a bunch of cards. Diamond Detective Agency. Hey, get a load of the fancy printing. Fancy. And maybe he's got it in his office. How about it, Shamus?
Look, you two broken-down comics. Anything in my office the termites have got dibs on. And I still don't know about a negative.
Louie, shall we go over there? Yeah, we gotta find it. What about the Shamus? How long did you put him to sleep before? 15 minutes. Mm-hmm. 15 minutes, about 20 minutes to get to his office. Half an hour to case it, join. 2. This time make it an hour, huh?
Hey.
Sure that's good for an hour?
Oh, sure. But if you're worried, I'll give him another 10 minutes just to be safe.
You know, it's little things like that can get awfully monotonous. And if you're not conditioned, sometimes you end up with a few loose bolts. Tony was a man of his word, all right. An hour and 10 minutes later, I was stumbling around the room trying to comb the cobwebs out of my eyes. This also can be somewhat of a problem, especially when your eyes have come loose and rolled back in your head someplace. Well, I leaned over, shook my head a couple of times, got the eyes rolling around until I felt them drop into place, then I found my way to the phone.
Precinct, Sergeant Otis.
Well, don't worry about it. They'll find a cure someday.
Oh, no. What do you want, Diamond?
Your other head. I'm going bowling.
Someday, Shamus,
Someday, Sergeant, you're going to find your true niche. And Ringling Brothers will have to find you a mate. Now, put the lieutenant on the phone.
Oh, now, what do you want?
How's your head?
Don't you shout at me.
Well, it's your own fault. Who in the world drinks old-fashioned stingers?
I do, and I'm sorry. How do you feel?
Numb.
Take some orange juice, Tabasco, and 3 raw eggs.
Walt, please.
It's great. Makes you sick as a dog.
Look, Walt, if my head is the wrong size, it's because it was beaten that way.
Oh, no. Have you gotten kicked around again?
I got so many Walts, I'd look like an advertisement for Puff Rice.
What happened this time?
Get over to 222 Bleecker Street, apartment H.
Why?
Because I got a little old corpse for you.
Oh, not today. Not today, please.
Take some orange juice, Tabasco, and 3 raw eggs. Weak mind, weak stomach. What's the police force coming to? Hello, Bright Eyes.
Oh, can't you lower your voice a little? Well, go on in, Otis.
Oh, sure.
Pelican Feet needs an engraved invitation.
Well, shut the door. Yeah. Oh, no, you... Oh, what did I do?
Relax, Walt, relax. You don't look so bad. I think I like you with the purple face.
You said there was a corpse here. Where is it? And save the gags.
The dead man is in here, laughing boy.
You don't have to be nasty. Coroner should be here any minute.
Well, there's the victim.
Who is he? Otis, take a look.
Yeah, Lieutenant.
Yeah, Lieutenant.
His name's George Phipps. I went through some of his things while I was waiting for you. Here's his wallet.
George Phipps? Let me get a better look.
Know him?
Get out of the way, Otis.
But you said...
Yeah, I know him. Ex-con. Got sent up just about the time you went on the force.
He remembered me.
What do? Drop circulars on Sing Sing? Otis, it wasn't that funny.
Yeah, Lieutenant.
What?
No, Lieutenant.
Otis.
Or what, Lieutenant?
Shut up.
The rest of the boys from homicide finally arrived, along with the coroner, and I briefed Walt on everything that had happened up to that point. George Phipps had been shot in the back, and the boys found the slug on the other side of the room in the wall. So Walt asked for a complete report as soon as possible. Then we climbed into the squad car and went back to Walt's office.
Now, what about that negative? You think it's still in your office?
I don't know. I'll go over later and check.
I think you can identify the two gun-ups who worked you over?
Drag out the files.
Well, if these two guys knew George Phipps, maybe they did time with him.
Could be.
One's name was Tony, huh? Well, Tony Payton did time at Sing Sing, and he sounds like your description. This look like you, boy?
Let's see. Well, you little Dickens, you. You win the butterscotch cake.
I'm right?
You certainly are. This guy is a sure cure for insomnia.
Okay, let's see if we can find out about the other one.
Here's the report, Lieutenant. George Phipps was shot with a .38.
Hey, Tony Payton put me to sleep with the end of a .38.
He did, huh?
Would you mind finishing the report, Sergeant?
Not at all. Been dead about 2 hours. Phipps started working for the Speedy Photo Laboratory 4 days ago. Has about 4 photographers working for them. You know the kind. Take your picture on the street and give you a card?
Yes, I know the kind.
What's the address of this photo lab, Otis?
Down on 36th Street.
Walt, I'm going to my office, see if the negative's still there.
Well, you've got to identify the other mug that worked you over.
Oh, I don't know his name or anything else. Take an hour.
Well, I'm going along. I want to see this negative.
Then let's go.
You want me to drive?
I can make it, Sergeant.
Oh.
Shame on you, Walt.
You know he just wants to turn on the siren.
Well, the place is sure a mess.
You really did a job in your office. Negative there?
No, didn't think it would be.
Swell. Now what have we got?
Well, I don't know about you, but I've got an idea. You go on back to the station. I'll check with you.
Where do you think you're going?
To the Speedy Photo Lab. It's not quite 6. Maybe I can get there before they close.
And what do you think you're going to find there? The negative's gone.
Sure it is, but it was developed there.
You think maybe there's a print?
No, that picture was probably taken of somebody on the street. They don't print up those things unless somebody sends in the card. Somebody must have, so there's got to be a print. Phipps only worked for them for 4 days, so the picture had to be taken in that time. Yeah?
Let me talk to Lieutenant Diamond.
Sure, but who's there to show you how? It's for you, Walt.
Oh, yeah?
Nobody ever says hello.
What?
Oh, nothing. Yeah, I got something. We just got a report on a stiff in the river. Thought you'd want to go check.
Oh, sure. In the river, huh?
Yeah.
Anything else?
No, that's all.
Well, good. I'll just go rent a little old rowboat and sail merrily up and down until I find the crowd. What's the address, you hornhead?
682 River Street.
Thank you, Sergeant.
What's the matter, Walt?
I gotta go check on a homicide. Come on. It's on the way to the photo lab. I'll drop you off.
We climbed in the squad car and cut across town. In front of a small white building on 36th Street, Walt let me out and headed for the river. I went into the Speedy Photo Lab and flashed the badge just long enough for the guy in charge to think I was a legit officer. Then I went through the list of people who had been mailed pictures in the last 4 days. The Speedy Photo Lab must have been heading for a quick collapse because there were only 7 names. I wrote down the addresses and started to check. The first 4 were strikeouts, but the 5th was good for all the bases.
Yes, what can I do for you?
Mr. Andrew Troop?
Yes?
Did you receive a picture from the Speedy Photo Lab?
Why, yes. What's this all about?
May I see it?
Well, I don't know.
Here's the badge.
A policeman?
No, don't get excited. Everything's all right.
Well, I can't help but get excited. A real live policeman. How wonderful.
Oh, dandy.
You see, I'm an amateur criminologist.
I'll send you a magnifying glass. Now, may I see the picture?
I'll get it right away. A real policeman. I may break out in a rash.
He got the picture all right, along with his correspondence course from the Find a Clue Detective School. And while he explained his advanced theories on police procedure, I took a good look at the snapshot. He was, of course, the reason for the picture. He was walking along toward the camera, puffed up like a park pigeon with his eye on some popcorn. But there in the background were my 2 sweet skull crushers, Tony Payton and his friend. But nothing seemed wrong. They were simply walking out of a building, one on either side of a short, stocky man with a large briefcase.
Is that picture a clue of some sort?
Well, I don't know. Do you mind if I take it with me? I'll see that you get it back.
Not at all, not at all. I thought you policemen worked in pairs.
Well, we usually do, but my partner got sore and gave me back my class ring, so we're not speaking. Goodbye, and thank you. I got it, Walt.
I don't care what it is, I'll trade you. Otis for whatever you got.
Here's the picture.
Oh, this is swell.
Well, now what's the matter?
2 homicides in one afternoon, that's what's the matter.
Hey, who was the guy in the river?
Worked for a brokerage firm. Disappeared 4 days ago with $200,000 in negotiable securities. Let's see that picture.
All right. Now, here's the guy who the picture was taken of. Type who works in the pill factory.
Well, there's Tony Payton in the background.
Mm-hmm. The gorilla next to him is his partner.
I know him. That's Louis Russo. 3 times...
What do you see?
Holy, no wonder.
No wonder what?
That guy between Tony and Louis.
The one in the middle, the one with the briefcase?
Yeah, that's the one we just fished out of the river.
Oh, then they accidentally got their pictures taken just before they killed the man with the securities.
Sure, Payton evidently saw Phipps take the picture, remembered him from Sing Sing, couldn't go after him until they took care of the guy with the securities.
Sounds good. Phipps developed the picture and saw what he had, got scared, and came to me for help.
That must have been... Oh, what do you want?
We located Tony Payton.
Where?
Over in a broken-down hotel on 25th Street.
Come on.
Fisher and Robert showed the clerk Payton's picture. And the clerk said he was registered there under another name with another guy.
Fisher and Robert staked out?
Yeah, across the street.
Get the car and step on it.
Lieutenant.
Yeah, the siren. There's Roberts parked up ahead. Pull up by him, Otis.
Right.
Roberts.
Hello, Walt. Hi, Rick.
They show?
Not yet. Fisher is covering the service entrance.
We'll go in. Honk the horn once if you spot anything.
Right.
We'll get out here, Otis. Get the car out of sight.
Yeah.
Like old times, Rick.
Yeah, but I don't miss them. Somebody always gets shot at.
Get going, Otis.
Okay.
Ready, Walt?
Yeah.
Let's go.
Desk clerk?
Well, that's right. There's not going to be any shooting, is there?
Not if we can help it. How late are you usually on?
Till midnight.
Is there a room around here, a closet or something we can wait in?
Oh, nothing close to the lobby. Look, if there's going to be any shooting...
What about the elevator?
Well, what about it?
We turn the light off and wait in there?
Yeah, I guess so.
Good idea. That part of the lobby's dark. Wouldn't see us until they were on top of us.
Well, they just live on the second floor. What if they use the stairs?
They won't get that far. Come on, Walt.
What do you want me to do?
What you do every night.
Sometimes I play the radio. Okay if I play the radio?
All right, but keep it low.
I sure hope there isn't going to be any shooting.
There's the light switch.
That's not it.
Oh, where the...
Okay.
Is there a stool over there? Hey, that's too loud.
Hey, lady. Hey.
Yeah?
Turn it down.
What are you doing? Getting that stool.
That's it.
Oh.
Peyton.
Oh, you sure jumpy.
Yeah. 211.
What's the matter? Something wrong?
No.
This stump would make me jumpy, too.
He's heading for the stairs.
When he gets past us.
No.
Hold it, Tony.
Don't move an inch.
Not a shamus.
38.
Look, what is this?
That's a bright remark. Where's your partner?
You think I better make a guess?
I'll make it a good one.
Rick, not in front of taxpayers.
I'm not a cop, and this guy gave me my lumps earlier. Now, where's your partner, Tony?
Someone coming in.
That's Louis.
Coppers, Louis, back!
Watch Tony Walt. I'll go after Louis.
Get to work.
He's coming your way, Roberts.
He's heading back your way, Rick.
Stop, Louis. Stop. Okay.
Get me to a hospital, will you?
All right.
Sorry about the hole, but he slipped past.
Get him an ambulance. I'm going back in with Walt.
Sure. Nice shooting.
Okay, Rick?
Yeah.
All right, let's go, Tony.
Gee, I didn't think there was going to be any shooting.
Well, you never know, do you?
Rick, I'm getting a little tired of you getting your face all bruised up.
You're getting a little tired.
Well, you know what I mean. I worry.
You worry and I ache. I'll trade you.
If I could, I would.
You little doll. I know you would, honey. I know. As long as we're going to give away your worry and my sore face, let's give them to someone who deserves them. Otis.
Oh, he's got enough trouble of his own.
Yeah. Have you ever seen those feet? There's not a shoe store in town that carries the size.
Rick.
It's true. He can only get one pair a year.
Why only one pair?
Takes 4 months just to lay the keel.
Oh, there it is.
Might as well answer it.
Louis' Pool Hall.
What?
Louis' Pool Hall, snooker, billiards, and straight pool.
Now, you stop that, Helen. Helen?
Look, I don't know what you want, Mac, but the name's Gertrude.
Now, don't give me that. When you picked up the phone, I heard a piano.
Well, of course you hate a piano. What do you think this is, a crummy joint or something? We got high-class entertainment. Anybody that runs 8 straight billiards gets a free beer and a song.
Oh, yeah? Well, Gertrude, would you mind telling me who does the singing?
You mean you ain't heard? We got the world's greatest lyric baritone, Clyde Cat. He's crazy.
Oh, now, for Pete.
No, Clyde. Wait a sec. I'll get him to warble a number. Hey, Clyde.
Yeah, go ahead.
Flex your tonsils.
Sure.
The bird with feathers of blue is waiting for you back in your own backyard. You'll see your castle in Spain through your window pane. Back in your own backyard. Oh, you can go to the east, go to the west, but someday you'll come. Weary at heart, back where you started from. You'll find your happiness lies right under your eyes, back in your own backyard.
There, you see what I mean?
Now, look, I want to speak to Rick.
Don't know him. Maybe he works in the bowling alley. Oh, you'll have to excuse me, Mac. My brother that runs the joint is real skinny, and some jerk just chalked up his head and is using him for a cue.
Now, you wait a
Oh,
minute.
I can't, Mac. I can't. He's liable to get a concussion. See you later.
Why didn't you want me to talk to him?
Well, do you really want to know?
Yeah.
Because I wanted you to hear exactly what you're beginning to talk like.
I talk like that?
Close.
Oh, now, come on.
I mean it, Rick. You associate with so many of the guys that talk out of the corner of their mouth that you're beginning to pick it up.
Oh, well, honey, if you're going to get square on me.
Now, do you see what I mean? Honey, if you're going to get square on me.
Well, all right. You want a little proper diction, huh?
Well, it certainly wouldn't hurt.
Darling.
Yeah.
Come closer.
How nice.
Oh, not that close, darling. You're fogging my glasses.
Sorry.
Nothing.
Better?
Much.
Shall we?
Love it.
Oh, Ronnie.
Oh, Cynthia. Hey, it works. I got to remember this.
have just heard Richard Diamond, Private Detective, starring Dick Powell. Ed Begley played Lieutenant Walt Levinson. Also in the cast were Wilms Herbert, Francis Robinson, Byron Kane, Gene Bates, Tony Barrett, and Jack Crucian. Music was under the direction of Frank Worth. Today's show was written by Blake Edwards and directed by Russell Hughes. Portions were transcribed. Dick Powell currently may be seen in the motion picture version of the best-selling novel, Mrs. Mike. This is Eddie King inviting you to be with us when we will again bring you Dick Powell as Richard Diamond, Private Detective. Here's an important time change reminder for Richard Diamond fans. This is the last Richard Diamond broadcast in this time period. Beginning April 5th, you will hear Dick Powell as Richard Diamond at a new time on Wednesdays. Check your local newspapers for the exact time, and be sure to tune for Richard Diamond on Wednesdays beginning April 5th. Next Sunday at this time, over most of these same stations, NBC will present Voices and Events, the exciting chronicle of today's happenings throughout the world. Tune here next Sunday for Voices and Events, and be sure to hear the next thrill-packed adventure in the life of Richard Diamond 1 week from Wednesday over most of these same NBC stations. Next, hear James Melton and Harvest of Stars on NBC.
This, I believe. Hugo Haas is a motion picture writer, producer, director, and actor. He was born in Czechoslovakia and had a successful stage career there until the Nazis came. His father and brother Paul, the latter a prominent composer, both died in the German gas chambers. But Hugo Haas escaped to America and has been making his mark on the Hollywood scene ever since. This is his creed.
There are many things I learned to believe in during the many years of my eventful life. First of all, I learned to believe in the tremendous power of life itself and in the power of self-preservation. Through the stormy years of persecution, exile, poverty, and grief over the losses of people nearest to me, I never lost the drive to go on, even in situations of hopelessness and despair. The power of self-preservation teaches you to believe in many good things, for instance, in the fundamental goodness of people. Throughout the bad years of misfortune, there always appeared from nowhere somebody. People, simple people who were willing to help. Sometimes it almost seemed incredible that complete strangers would be interested in my existence. I finally arrived at the conclusion that it is not so easy to die of hunger and starvation, that there is always someone somewhere hidden behind your door and waiting with a piece of bread to spoil your honest intention to die and insisting on your continuing to live. I believe in the might of nature, and I can never get tired of daily little miracles like sunrises and sunsets, flowers and trees, the firmament and elements around us. I believe strongly in the joy of creation, in useful work, in expressing and exchanging views, philosophies, and feelings. I believe in beauty, such as music, paintings, books, sculptures, expressions of emotions in all fields of art. I also believe in simplicity and logic. I don't believe in art that has to be explained to me. Art must talk plainly for itself and to anybody equally. In the length of years and the progress of time, one can learn to adjust oneself to understand new harmonies in music and new lines and colors in paintings, new and more daring ideas in books, but basically one should never abandon the principles of simplicity and logic. I believe in friendship as something given by God to make our lives worthwhile, warm, and less lonesome. And I believe in love, with all the consequences of joy, sorrow, and sacrifices. For love is the strongest element that in the final analysis fulfills our life. It is the strongest impression left to the end of our days and all the dear faces connected with these feelings. Father and mother, brothers and sisters, wife and children, stay with us in our memories to the very last moments of our consciousness. I believe also in the comfort of a clear conscience, which makes me feel safe in looking into my neighbor's eyes. I believe in freedom and I believe in democracy. I have lived now in America for 13 years, and the feeling of freedom and security and justice became to me more important than all the material advantages, and I'm deeply grateful. Summing up all my beliefs, which I gathered during the years of my rich life and experience, I believe strongly in some great, unknown power which guides our life and is responsible for everything that is worthwhile to enjoy and to endure. May he be called Christ, Jehovah, Confucius, or Mohammed.
That was Hugo Haas of Hollywood, California. His success in the motion picture world is matched by an outlook which has seen him safely through the adversities of life.
Mr. District Attorney, champion of the people, defender of truth, guardian of our fundamental rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
And it shall be my duty as District Attorney not only to prosecute to the limit of the law all persons accused of crimes perpetrated within this county, but to defend with equal vigor the rights and privileges of all its citizens.
As our case opens tonight, your district attorney and Harrington are seated at a council table in a hot, stuffy courtroom. They've been impatiently awaiting the return of a jury who have spent many hours deliberating a verdict. Word has come that this verdict has been reached. Spectators have filed into the room. The judge has returned to the bench. Finally, a side door is opened, and the jury returns. Silently, they enter the jury box. An air of tense excitement grips the court as the clerk calls upon the foreman of the jury to rise. In droning tones, he asks, "How say you? Do you find this defendant guilty or not guilty?"
We, the jury, find him not guilty.
Oh, Chief, did you hear that?
Yes, I heard it.
Oh, what a swindle.
I don't understand it.
Why, a bunch of 10-year-old kids that know Stanley committed that murder.
I thought we had everything we needed on this one. But evidently there was a reasonable doubt in the minds of the jurors.
A reasonable doubt? Oh, look at Stanley grinning all over the place.
He should be. He'll never be as lucky again.
Oh, look at... Hey, he's coming over here.
Yes.
Hiya, Mr. D.A.
Hello, Stanley.
Is you going to congratulate me?
For what?
For winning the Duke.
You still done that killing, Stanley?
Hey, how the jury call it. That's what they pay off on. See you later, boys.
Oh, brother, how could they let that punk off?
I don't know. One thing is certain, though.
What's that, Chief?
This merely postpones Mr. Stanley's engagement with the chair.
How come?
He's a professional killer and will continue to be one. The next time we pick him up, we'll make it stick.
Oh, Chief.
Yes, Harrington.
Did you see the morning papers?
You mean the account of the trial?
Yeah, they certainly blasted that verdict yesterday.
Yes, I know.
They took particular pains, though, to point out that it wasn't your fault.
Well, unfortunately, that isn't much consolation.
No.
Excuse me, Chief.
Yes, Miss Miller?
There's a Mrs. Clark in the outer office.
Yes?
She was one of the jurors on the Stanley case.
Oh, does she want to see me?
Yes, sir.
You know, what about?
Well, I don't know. She said it's important.
All right, have her come here.
Yes, sir.
Wonder what this is, Chief.
Don't know.
You remember Mrs. Clark?
Oh, yes, of course. How do you do, Miss Clark? This is Mr. Harrington.
How do you do,
Mrs. Clark?
Sit down, won't you?
Very well.
Now, what can I do for you?
Well, I have something to tell you. It has to do with the trial.
Yes?
I feel that there's something very suspicious about the verdict. That's why I came here.
Yeah, you better get your pad and pencil, Miss Miller.
I have it right here. I'll take this down, Chief.
Thank you. And just what are your suspicions, Mrs. Clark?
Well, in the beginning, most of us believed that Stanley was guilty of the murder.
Mm-hmm.
But there was one man especially who insisted he wasn't. And, well, he had a lot to say about it.
Yeah, who was that?
Mr. Taylor, he was the foreman.
Yes, I remember him.
He insisted that Stanley was innocent.
And what did he base this on?
Well, he never would give a reason.
Hmm.
Just kept saying he knew he wasn't guilty.
Well, how did he get everyone else to come around to his way of thinking?
Well, the first change came when we were taken out to lunch the second day. This Mr. Taylor sat with two other men on the jury. And when we returned, well, they had changed their vote to not guilty.
Did they give any reason for this change?
No. These two men were more or less leaders. Their changeover gradually influenced most of the others. And finally, by the third day, another juror and myself were the only two who were for conviction.
Well, what made you both switch?
Well, at dinner time, this Mr. Taylor sat with the man who was siding with me.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever went on there made him change his mind.
So after dinner, you were the lone holder?
Yes.
And then you finally just gave up?
Oh, no.
No?
Well, I mean, I was prepared to stand my ground to the finish when I received a message from an attendant. It was about my son.
Yes.
It said he was coming home on the final furlough before going overseas, and he'd only be in town overnight.
And, of course, you wanted to see him.
Yes. And besides, by this time, all the others agreed he wasn't guilty, so I voted with them.
Well, I can understand that.
But the message wasn't true, sir.
What do you mean?
My son called me this morning from camp. He knew nothing about it.
Hey.
That's really what convinced me I should come here.
Well, I'm certainly glad you did, Mrs. Clark.
Do you think that Taylor guy had anything to do with the phony message?
I don't know.
Well, I think we should try to find out. I'd like to have a talk with this man, Taylor. Find out where he can be located, Harrington, and bring him in for questioning.
Hiya, Mr. Butler.
Well, hello, Stanley. Wondering what happened here.
I kind of did a little celebrating last night.
Yeah, I sort of figured you would. Come back to the office.
Okay.
You hungover?
Yeah, a little bit.
I have to fix that.
Swell.
Go ahead.
Thanks.
Sit down, kid.
Okay.
What'd it be? Scotch or rye?
Oh, shot a ride, do good.
Right.
I want to thank you, Mr. Butler.
For what?
For the fix.
You mean the verdict?
Yeah.
Well, you killed a guy for me. The least I could do was rig a jury for you. Yeah. Drink up.
Thanks.
That should ease the pain.
How did you ever do it?
What?
Swing them jury guys. The way that DA piled the points on me, I figured I was cold.
I told you I'd take care of things, didn't I?
Sure, but even him up, he said I didn't have a chance.
He just didn't know the score, that's all.
What was it again?
I owned the foreman.
A little fat guy?
Yeah.
How come?
Well, he was in a pocket, needed dough. I just took care of him.
What about the others?
Well, I used a kind of a smart maneuver then.
How do you mean?
Most people, somewhere in the past, have got something they'd rather not have brought up again.
Yeah?
So I had a checkmate on a jury, dug up enough on three of them to turn a little heat on it.
Well, how did you get to them?
Well, it seems that there's a waiter in the joint the jury ate in who happened to be a friend of mine. Guy I'd kind of done favors for.
Oh.
I sent a note through him to the foreman, giving him a rundown on these three guys in the jury, so he went to work on it.
You really operate, Mr. Butler.
That's my business. Anything can be fixed, kid. You just got to know how, that's all.
Well, you've done a swell job. And just to show you I mean that, the next killing you want done is on me.
Right in here, Mr. Taylor.
All right, all right.
Chief, you remember this fellow?
Yes, of course. Hello, Mr. Taylor.
How do you do? He wasn't too happy about coming over here, Chief.
Naturally. I've neglected my business enough serving on that jury. Well, I'm sorry, but this is quite important. Sit down, please.
Very well.
Harrington, did you explain to Mr. Taylor why I wanted to see him?
No, Chief. I thought you could do that better than me.
All right.
Just what is this all about?
It has to do with the verdict reached by you and your fellow jurors yesterday.
Yes?
We have a report from a woman named Clark. She served with you.
What about?
She seemed convinced that several of the jurors were pressured into changing their views on the case.
Well, that's ridiculous. Why, that woman... Why, Mr. Taylor, why don't you wait till you hear the whole thing? Very well. Go ahead.
She also believed that you were the one who exerted this pressure.
Why, this is fantastic.
She named 3 specific jurors who were influenced. We're trying to contact these men now to substantiate her story.
Well, I must tell you right now, sir, this is the most libelous thing I have ever encountered.
You deny the charge?
Completely. Look, Mr. Taylor... Just a minute. I think I see behind this whole thing now. What do you mean? Wouldn't it be possible that having lost the case, you are now looking for some excuse to justify it?
Oh, hardly.
Well, it certainly appears that way.
Now, just a minute. Oh, wait, Harrington.
Yeah.
I called you in here, Mr. Taylor, to acquaint you with the charge that's been made. Frankly, I intend to investigate it thoroughly. So I advise you to remain available for further questioning.
May I see you for a minute, Mr. Butler?
Oh, come in, sir. What are you doing here?
Something has come up. I had to talk to you.
It wasn't very smart of you to come here.
I had to.
Well, what is it?
I have just come from the district attorney's office.
What are you doing there?
He sent for me.
What for?
A woman on the jury has charged that I was responsible for the acquittal.
So what?
She implied that I exerted pressure.
How would you know?
Well, that isn't the point, Mr. Butler. The fact remains the charge has been made. The DA said he's going to make a thorough investigation.
Okay, let him investigate.
But if those men I influenced should talk...
Well,
I have a reputation to think of, Mr. Butler. I'm a respected man.
Sure.
You've got to do something. You have to help me.
Look, Taylor, nothing's going to happen.
How do you know?
Just take my word for it.
I'm sorry, that isn't enough.
No?
No. I demand a guarantee of protection. The same protection you gave to Stanley.
You demand it, huh?
I most certainly do. Don't forget, you have as much to lose as I have.
How do you figure that?
Well, you were responsible for my swaying that jury.
So?
If the district attorney were to find that out, you'd be in this thing, too.
How do you figure the DA would find out about me?
Well,
you, Taylor?
Possibly. Yes.
That's very interesting. Who's that?
Hey, Stanley.
Come in. I get company.
Ah,
remember?
Yeah, the jury guy.
That's right. He's got trouble.
What's the matter?
The DA smells a fix.
I've just come from his office.
He's worried. Afraid I won't take care of him.
Why?
I don't know. He says if he falls, I fall too.
Oh, I didn't exactly say that.
That could mean a new trial, kid.
Hey, now, wait a minute.
We can fix that, though.
How?
Remember that favor you owed me?
Huh?
You promised me one on the house.
Oh. Well, what are you going to do about this, Mr. Butler?
I'm taking care of it.
How?
Show him, Stanley.
Right. It's good to be working again.
Excuse me, Chief.
Yes, Mr.
Here are typewritten copies of all the testimony we took.
Oh, fine. Put them right on the desk.
Yes, sir?
Well, that should be just about all the evidence we need against Mr. Taylor.
Yes.
And all 3 of the jurors said they were willing to repeat this testimony in court.
I know. One thing puzzles me, though, Chief.
Yes, what's that?
How did Taylor find out these things about the other 3 jurors?
Well, I'm certain he didn't.
What do you mean?
I think it was passed on to him by someone else.
You think he was just acting as a stooge for Stanley?
No, Stanley wouldn't have been smart enough to fix the jury either.
Then who was it?
I'm afraid I can't answer that. But I felt right along that Stanley had someone higher up behind him who was trying to save his neck.
How do you know?
He's a professional killer. He commits murder for profit. Whoever his client was on this killing we tried him for could very easily be the one who helped him.
And also the one who dug up the past of the men you just talked to and bought them with it.
Yes.
Well, I should think he'd be as important in this thing as Stanley is.
He definitely is. However, we still have to learn his identity.
Hi, Chief.
Oh, come in, Harrington.
Right.
I'm trying to locate you.
How's down at headquarters?
We talked to those 3 jurors. All of them admitted finally that Taylor had influenced them to vote for acquittal after he had threatened to reveal some damaging fact in their past.
How do you like that?
It's okay.
I want you to get Taylor over here at once.
Well, there ain't much chance of that, Chief.
Why not?
His body was found about half an hour ago out in Fairview Park.
Oh.
And laying next to him was a cop with 2 bullets in his chest.
Mr. Butler.
Hiya, son.
I've been waiting here most of the morning for you.
Why?
I ran into a little screw-up.
What do you mean?
Can I talk to you?
Sure.
I took Taylor's body out to dump it last night, just like we planned.
Yeah?
I bring him to Fairview Park. I parked the car. Come out. Just as I planned, and there turns up a cop.
Oh, fine.
He throws one of them what's going on here routines at me.
Yeah?
While he's in the middle of it, I put 2 slugs in him.
That wasn't very smart.
What else could I do? Had a stiff with me, remember?
Shooting cops is bad business, Stanley. What'd you do with Taylor's body?
I dumped it beside the car.
Are you kidding? Oh, that's great.
Well, what do you mean?
Why don't you put a label on it?
I don't get it.
The DA is going to mildly suspect that you killed Taylor anyway. Just figured he'd never get any proof, that's all. Well, finding that cop beside him is something different. They'll turn the whole force loose on you, kid.
That's okay.
It ain't with me, Stanley. I got a piece of this thing, too.
What do you want I should do?
Well, you better go under.
Oh, now, look.
It's the only thing to do till the heat's off, anyway.
Oh, just starting to operate.
You do like I say. You go under, and fast.
Where's the chief, Miss Miller?
Oh, he's been over at Taylor's office doing some sort of an investigation on him.
Well, what good does that do now?
Well, he believes that Taylor was acting for someone else when he fixed that jury.
Sure he was. For Stanley.
No, Harrington. The chief believes there's someone above Stanley.
Above? Who?
Well, that's what he's trying to find out.
Yeah, well, I hope he gets something.
Yeah. Any word on Stanley?
Not yet, but there's a pretty healthy search on for him.
Mm-hmm. How's the policeman?
The one who was shot?
Yeah.
I just checked City Hospital. His condition's about the same.
I see. Has he regained consciousness yet?
No.
Well, if he should die, then there's no way of proving that Stanley did the shooting.
That's right, unless we come up with some new evidence. Oh, hi, Chief.
Hello.
Oh, how'd you make out, Chief?
I think I found something.
Good.
Was this in Taylor's office?
Yes.
What is it, Chief?
Well, I did a pretty thorough check on his business affairs.
Yeah?
A representative of his bank worked with me.
Uh-huh.
I learned that he'd had a good deal of financial trouble lately. He owned several small enterprises, and they were all heavily mortgaged.
Yeah?
These mortgages were held by a man we're all familiar with.
Who's that?
Mr. Joe Butler.
What? The fixed guy, huh?
That's right.
How did Taylor get mixed up with him?
Oh, Butler has many legitimate investments, and these were some of them.
Oh.
Just before the trial, these mortgages were canceled.
What, you mean called off?
Yes. And there's no record of Taylor having paid.
Well, that sounds like Butler made a deal with him, Chief.
Yes, Miss Miller, it certainly seems that way.
Well, that sure looks like the tie-in, all right.
Yes. So, any word on Stanley?
No, not yet.
And how is that cop?
He's still unconscious, Chief.
Are there any clues at all on the thing?
Just 2, the bullets and some tire tracks that were found. Police lab is working on both of them.
I see.
What are you going to do on this Butler angle, Chief?
I intend to pay a call on him.
When?
Right now.
Sit down, Mr. Deary.
Thank you.
This is a real surprise.
Really?
Yeah. What's in your mind?
Murder. Well, it's okay for openers. Got anybody in mind?
Now, this murder has already been committed.
Oh.
The body of a man named Taylor was found this morning out in Fairview Park.
How was he?
I believe he was a business acquaintance of yours.
Taylor?
Yes. You held several mortgages on some of his enterprise.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I remember the guy. I'm sorry to hear about that. How it happened?
Well, we believe a man named Stanley was responsible.
There's one I don't know.
Well, I think you do.
Another business acquaintance?
It could be. Stanley is a professional killer. Taylor served on a jury that just acquitted him of murder.
Why should he want to kill somebody who acquitted him?
Well, Taylor was bribed to swing that acquittal.
Oh.
It's my belief that the bribing was done by you.
Very funny.
I didn't intend it to be.
You know, you legal guys kill me.
How's that?
Everything with you is deduction, ain't it?
No, this is more than straight deduction.
You ain't have proof?
I will have.
How?
Whoever got rid of Taylor's body ran into a policeman in the park.
Yeah?
He shot the policeman.
No kidding.
But fortunately for us, he didn't die.
The cop?
That's right.
Wow, that is a break.
He's in City Hospital right now, still unconscious.
Uh-huh.
When he comes around, he should have an interesting story to tell.
Yeah. I'd like to hear it.
You will.
Army. Oh? Yeah. Just a minute. For you.
Thank you. Hello? Oh, yes, Harrington. What's that? I see. Yes, fine. I'm glad you called. Right. Goodbye. And that was another report on the officer who was shot. The doctors believe he'll be well enough to talk tomorrow.
Good.
I'll get in touch with you again after I've heard his report.
I'll be waiting to hear from you.
This is Ford.
Thanks.
Calling Dr. Chansamino. Calling Dr. Chansamino. Dr. Chansamino. Report to emergency.
Okay, copper. This time it takes.
Put all those lights, Harrington.
Right. What is it? All right. They dropped that. Let go of me. Drop it here.
It's good work, Harrington. Put the cuffs on him.
Now, here is your district attorney.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I think the first thing I should tell you is that Stanley was tried again on the charge of first-degree murder. And with the evidence we gathered, we made it stick this time, and he paid for his crimes in the electric chair.
Yeah, and that little visit was long overdue, Chief.
Yes, Harrington, it was.
Chief, I think you should tell the device you used to trap him.
Well, it was really a desperation measure. You see, the call I received from Harrington when I was in Butler's office was a report that the police officer had died. I knew that his death just about eliminated any real chance we might have to pin the murder on Stanley. Feeling that Butler was working with the killer and also knew his whereabouts, I trumped up the story that the policeman was recovering. I hoped this would goad them into getting rid of him before he could talk.
Which it did. We spent most of the day in that hospital room waiting for Stanley to show.
He didn't know that the body in the bed was a dummy.
Oh, with the lights out, he couldn't tell.
You forgot about Butler, Chief.
Oh, yes. Well, Mr. Butler has been sent to prison for a long term for his part in the affair. You see, Stanley thought Butler had double-crossed him with a hospital story, so he implicated him in the killing.
Well, that's what usually happens, isn't it, Chief, when thieves fall out?
Yes, it is. Thank you, and good night.
The names of all characters in tonight's dramatization are fictitious, and any resemblance to names of living persons or actual places is purely coincidental. Our stars were Jay Jostin in the title role, Len Doyle as Harrington, and Vicky Vola as Miss Miller. The music was under the direction of Peter Van Steeden, and the author was Jerry Devine.